Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Look, I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I never thought that A&M was going to lose the basketball game yesterday, even when they were down when the game started. Never thought that they were going to lose that game. That being said, they're not a very good shooting team. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan, who did not get a lot of sleep because an 8 o'clock game means bedtime is like 1.
It sucks. I hate these 8 o'clock games, you know. Maybe if I was a young guy like Nick Savage or Matthew Dawson, you know, maybe.
OB, I am so with you. 8 o'clock games on a weeknight is ridiculous. I'm with you there.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, coming in here, which I enjoy, but getting up at the latest 7 o'clock, you know, it's just, I'm tired.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I stayed up for every second of that bad boy. You know, usually I'm in bed at 9:17, like clockwork, but not when the Aggies are playing, my friend.
Yeah, well, you needed to be up for the because that game was in doubt up until the last minute.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to lose, but like
I didn't either. But I also was thinking, you know, they need to, you know, they need to make some shots, and then
look at that shooting percentage. OB, like I am perplexed of how bad of a shooting percentage this team consistently is. They're consistently in the 20s.
Yeah, and yet, of course, we've talked about it over and over, how they compensate by getting a lot of offensive rebounds. But last night, it was they compensated by getting to the free throw line.
Yep. And
then playing really good defense and scoring off turnovers.
They did play really good defense.
So 21 points on turnovers, 27 points at the free throw line. You know, that'll help offset a tough shooting night.
Yep. You know, the interesting you weren't listening to the broadcast. I was listening to it. They said, you know, hey, if Missouri didn't miss all these threes, they'd be in it. And I'm like, bro, A&M missed more.
Yeah,
I broed them.
But I think you expect A&M to miss a lot of threes. I don't know that you expect, but Missouri, that's how they got back into it, by hitting threes. In fact, they got a 4-point play that brought them, that made it a 3-point game. And then Henry Coleman, you know, A&M has so little inside game, and they're looking up at 7-footers. You know, Missouri had a 7-footer guarding the rim. Then they also had a 7'5" guy, who, by the way, wore number 75. No coincidence there, I'm sure. But anyway, Henry gets the ball down low and does this shot where he's contorting his body to get it over the 7-footer, and he made it. And it was a huge basket because
his
I
only
think that
bucket, right?
Only field goal.
Yeah.
He had 7, I think, or 8 free throws.
Yep.
So that was a big shot with about 2 minutes to go, and it gave A&M a 5-point lead. And just that defense was so good. Missouri finally scored a couple of baskets, but they were in the last 20 seconds.
So my kids blamed me yesterday for some of the issues that happened in the game yesterday. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who made this mistake. I said out loud, hey, kids, Missouri hasn't scored in over 10 minutes.
That's true.
And I said, I think they've missed 11 straight shots, guys. And the moment I said it out loud, They hit a bucket.
Missed a shot, but got an offensive rebound and put it back.
Up.
Yeah.
And then I think they got fouled on the next play.
Yeah, they went on an 8-0 run, and they cut the halftime deficit to 5. And then they came out pretty fast in the in the second half, and actually took a 39-38 lead.
Yep.
And then I think Boots Radford went on a 7-0 run. He did it all himself.
Yeah.
And then it was always A&M just staying just enough out front.
Yeah.
You know, Missouri might get within 2, but then A&M would never give them the lead back until but I have to be honest, it's the kind of game where you're thinking, you know, it's a good thing they were playing Missouri.
Yeah. Because
Missouri's a struggling team. If you were shooting like that against a better team, you know, you might not have.
They all count the same, so we'll take it. I wanted to comment, even though Henry's stat line was not beautiful. I mean, it was fine. It was fine. He makes such a difference being out there on the floor.
He does.
During that run, that defensive run, the way he'd play those lanes and steal the ball and his speed, which led to a lot of transitional opportunities, which this team has not had a lot of this year. They don't score a lot on fast breaks or have a lot of chances like that. I thought the defense with the fast running, getting out and going, certainly helped them yesterday.
Again, you know, all those turnovers turn into transition points. I think A&M had 15 fast break points,
which they hadn't. Didn't LSU? They had 0 or 2.
I think yeah, you're right. I don't know if it was 0 or 2. I think it was 0, but man, Henry Coleman is their second best player when he's healthy, and he's their only real inside threat in the offense. Now, Anderson Garcia does a lot of great things with offensive rebounds and putbacks and things like that.
But he's not their second best player.
But I don't think you're bringing the ball down, and if you can't get the outside shots you want, I don't think you're dumping it inside to Anderson thinking, okay, go score. But you can do that with Henry.
He's opportunistic. He finds his. Do you think we would have said Henry was the second best player coming into the season? Because I think we would have said Boots.
We would have said third.
Yeah.
We would have said Boots, and Boots is struggling. Now, he did have that 7-0 run by himself, right?
And he's been better 3 out of the last 4 games, I believe.
Yeah. But he was 3 of 8 last night, 1 of 4, I think, from three-point range, missed some free throws. But you know what? There when they needed him, like I said, that 7-0, he just showed you why he's so good and revered and things like that. So he could have a bad night, but and I think he's still working his way back into playing shape.
Yeah.
But he can have a bad night, but then in a stretch, just take over and give that team what it really needs.
I know A&M won the rebounding battle, but Missouri was getting some rebounds in that game. Some A, they were big, and B, they're like Butterfingers at times. There would be a ball that Anderson would have or somebody else would have, and it would kind of just slip out of their hands, and Missouri would get, which led to some second-chance scoring for Missouri.
Yeah. I think Missouri was playing really hard, and I don't know if that's the way they play all the time or if it's because, hey, man, we're 0-5. We got to get a win, and this is a great opportunity. And I thought Missouri had a great scheme that their coach put together. They said, look, we got a 7-footer and a 7'5" guy. Let's just put them low, and let's go out and play a zone and make them shoot outside. We know they're not great perimeter shooters. If they come inside, they try to come inside. I got my big guy waiting on them, and it worked for the most part. But A&M matched them defensively and even exceeded it.
Yeah, they were better. But that's what we come to expect from A&M. That game is – look, I don't get any confidence in that victory. I'll just take the victory. But there's nothing from that game I'm like, all right.
No, I think on the surface it's the kind of win where you would feel worse about their prospects moving forward than better.
Sure. Yes.
Right?
Even though I'm happy that obviously that they won.
Right. But, yeah, I think with this team, maybe more than others, maybe more than any others, you have to just – it's all in that particular game, because nothing that you do in one game may have anything to do with the next, because they were just so – look, we know they're not going to – well, we feel like they're not going to shoot well. I mean, from the outside, but that's typically who they are. And yet their last game against LSU, they shot well from perimeter. So you just don't really know what you're going to get from them.
But you know, more often than not, they're not going to shoot well from three.
More often than not, they're not. But they're going to get a lot of offensive rebounds. Well, compared to what they've done in a lot of games, 15 offensive rebounds isn't an eye-popping number.
Right.
For most teams it is, but for this A&M team. So, I just don't think you look at it and say, okay, they had a big win over Kentucky, so now they're going to just turn it on and beat a lot of teams. By the way, you see what happened to Kentucky yesterday.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah.
Bad.
They got beat down.
But I don't think at the same token, you look at them and say, okay, they struggled to beat Missouri, a bad Missouri team. So that means, man, they're in trouble when Ole Miss comes to town. I think with this team, it's not a soap opera. It's a new episode every game.
It is, but I think we can come to expect certain things. We can expect pretty good offensive rebounding or excellent, pretty good to excellent. We can expect pretty good to excellent defense, and we can expect low shooting.
Well, see, I would even say they've been kind of up and down defensively.
But I think they're better than most teams still.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, they haven't reached the peak of what they've been known for the last few years. One thing that I found interesting, you probably didn't catch it because it was on TV, but you remember when they reviewed Henry's elbow to the Missouri player?
Yeah.
The assistant coach was flabbergasted. He was like, nah, he pushed off. You could see it. Like, that was just a basketball play. Like, I didn't even know why that had to be reviewed. Maybe because he was cut, but like that was a pure basketball. There was nothing malicious in that play at all.
Yeah, of course, that's what the coach is always going to do that. I mean, for goodness sakes, we all watched Eric Musselman at Arkansas vehemently protest a flagrant 2 when his guy literally reached his foot out and kicked somebody, was it Levesque? I can't remember who it was, in the nads. I mean, you couldn't even deny it. And what an grave injustice. So I never pay attention to what the coaches do there in those situations.
Before the show, I asked you, and I'm going to read a comment from Calvin, which I think is pretty spot on. I asked you, why do you think this team is shooting so poorly? Because it's a lot of the same personnel. Calvin says, Nuño, most of the low percentage can be attributed to bad shots, which I 100% agree with. They take a lot of bad shots. Low percentage attempts, that's on to coaching. They need to have good shooting IQ. Buzz allows players so much latitude. Falling on the sword, we focus on offensive rebounding response. I understand when coaches say if there's an open shot, you're supposed to take it. You come play in the SEC because we expect you to hit those shots. That part I get. But I feel like a lot of times they rush bad shots.
Maybe. I mean, they definitely take bad shots. They acknowledge that. And that, when they're better is when they take good shots. I think you get individually, they should look at it and say, okay, where do I make my three-pointers? Because typically that's what they're shooting. Where do I make it? And the most, and that's where I need to shoot them from. Where am I struggling? Right. Don't take that shot. If I'm in the corner and haven't been able to make it in the corner, maybe if I get the ball in the corner, I need to pass it out and try to work my way out, between the top of the key and the wing there.
Outside of Wade and maybe Boots, and Boots is not a three-point shooter, but
he had a big one last night.
He did. He had a huge one, and when he's also a streaky shooter like the Ags, right? But Wade is the one guy I'm like, even though he takes a lot of shots, I'm like, don't take that. I'm okay with him. He's the second leading scorer in the SEC. Yeah, the guy can score.
He gets the green light. He's the guy. We've said it before. He's the base stealer that you can go anytime.
That's fine. You don't have to, and if we need to have a conversation, like, hey, slow it down, we'll have that.
Right.
If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150. We'll pick it up on the Brian Foley Law Hotline, or you can text us at that same number, 979-693-1150. Let's go behind the glass and say hi to the great Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Yo.
Well, I'm going to switch the sport here and go to a little Aggie football. I don't know if y'all caught the Texas Aggies United Twitter feed, but they were a little busy yesterday. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 Aggies announced via Texas Aggies United that they're coming back. Demetrius Crownover was one of them.
Let's go.
DJ Hicks was one of them. Running through these graphics here. Micah Tease was one of them. And the last but not least, the freshman All-American Torian York back for another season. And just looking at his numbers from that freshman All-American season, 74 tackles, 8.5 for loss, 3 sacks, 5 QB hurries. He also forced a fumble. So just a really key piece returning for that Mike Elko. Well, I guess it's not led by Mike Elko, but that Jay Bateman defense. So going to be exciting to watch him and have all those Aggies back.
All those guys are good players.
Yeah. It's
good to have them back.
I'm getting better, but I'm still struggling with, let's announce that I'm staying. I'm going to start doing that at home. Honey, I'm not leaving you. She's going to start doing it to me too. Next year, we get to January 1st, 2025, she's going to send out a tweet, David, I'm still your wife.
Yeah, I think my wife would not do that. I think my wife would be the one that says, I'm in the transfer portal. No, I'm coming back out of the transfer portal. Now I'm going back in the transfer portal. Now I'm coming back in the transfer.
Hey, it worked out. Tyreek Chappelle went in. Chase Massanas, they came right back.
You gotta look at what your options are. Is there a better situation? There's not a better fit. I'll stay with Olin.
And then there's others
for now
that say they're coming back and then complain on social media. You got it all. So,
So, look, any good news, no matter if it's manufactured or whatever, I'm here for football. We need to at A&M in all programs need to start living up to its fullest potential.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you know what? I'd like to say the athletic director will help us get there, but it might go deeper than that. So
I think, you heard Lucci yesterday saying, somebody's got to step forward and say, hey, the way you've been doing things isn't working. So we need to change some things.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Dawson is in the house this morning. Matthew, good morning, buddy.
Good morning and howdy. Lamar Diston, A&M track and field athlete. She was SEC Women's Field Athlete of the Week, as the league announced on Tuesday, which was yesterday. She claimed the women's high jump with a meet record, Ted Nelson Invitational meet record, clearing 6'4" and a quarter. 6'4" and a quarter. So she cleared Manny Obaseki. I can't even clear the tabs on my computer. Like, what's going on with that?
You say that, and I'm like, oh, wow, that is pretty tall. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Clear.
Yeah. That is tall. 6'4" is tall, all right? I am not particularly tall, so 6'4".
Yeah, it's a long way up there.
Let's do height real quick.
My son's 6'5".
Your son's 6'5". You're 6'1"?
6'1", yeah.
Okay. Nick, 5'8", 5'7"?
No.
Yep.
5'8".
Matthew, 5'2"?
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Well,
okay,
you could just give me a couple inches. I'll take 5'4" and a quarter.
No, you're 5'6", 5'7", right?
Well,
5'4", okay.
Yeah, that's what I'll tell people, right? In boots, I'm 5'6", so that's all that matters, right?
I'm 5'10". I think in my day I was 5'11". I like to believe I was, but I definitely shrunk.
Well, I have too.
Yeah.
I mean, you do. It's a real thing. So, man, high jump 6'4".
That's pretty good.
I mean, I don't mean this the way it's going to sound, okay? So I'm already, but for a woman to go out 6'4", I mean, 6'4" is.
It's taller than Jose Canseco.
I mean, that's impressive no matter what. But when you put it in the context, that's a woman. I mean, I wonder what the women's world record is in the high jump. I have no idea. I know a guy has gone like 7'1" in the high jump, which is crazy. But 6'4", that's
tallest man you ever met.
Tallest man I ever met
or interviewed.
Oh, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yao for me, or Sean Bradley.
6'9" women's high jump world
6'9".
record.
So she ain't that far. Yao Ming and Sean Bradley for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever covered George Murasan. Remember him?
Yeah.
He was a giant dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I interviewed Shaq after his high school state championship
Shaq
win.
was 7'1", maybe?
I think so,
Yeah.
But wider than most guys.
He was a boat.
Yeah, big guy.
Anything else, Mr. Dawson?
Well, men's tennis is competing on Thursday, squaring off against Georgia Southern, so that's pretty exciting. Women's basketball's got a game on Thursday.
Yeah.
It's at Mizzou, so we're not going to be able to pack Reed, but we're going to be packing the television ratings for sure. And college baseball soon, 24 days.
24 days.
24 days.
Who are they opening up against, do you know?
They're playing McNeese State.
McNeese.
The Brownies.
Ryan Broniger U. RBU.
RBU. All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back. I've got some things to get into with you, OB. I don't remember what they are, so I have to look at the rundown. Oh, A little Alex Caruso news. We'll get into some NFL talk. A lot to get into. So Matthew today came up and he's like, "Hey, so do you guys like rehearse your Fargo's thing? Like, did you guys like? Is it like you have the paper there? The paper's just so I make sure I get the address right. I have no idea what direction we're gonna go when we start talking about.
Yeah, but I
Fargo's.
know when you're hungry for lunch, what direction you should go.
You
should go down to Texas Avenue and head north into Bryan and look there right on the right and go to Fargo's. Today, if you like
Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. So if you like a big spud stuffed with chopped beef.
I can see Yao Ming eating that.
Yeah, I can see anybody eating that.
Yeah.
You know.
Sean Bradley.
That's good enough to make a vegan say, well, maybe this is a bad idea.
Did you say a vegan?
A vegan.
Okay.
To say, maybe this is a bad idea.
I like the vegan better.
Vegan, maybe a vegan from Vegas. But anyway, would
Vincent
come in,
Vega.
Yeah, the vegan would come in there and say, you know what? This is too good. This vegan thing's not working for me anymore.
Yeah, I've changed my mind.
So you know but if it was Thursday, I'd head over there and get the pork chops.
Give me what you want for a pork
chop.
chop.
And the macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, you gotta get
And
both.
then if I was heading that way on a Friday, and let's say I don't have to be just Catholic, but let's say if I was a Catholic and I didn't want to eat meat, I could go out there and get the 4 C's, the catfish, the coleslaw, the corn, the crunchy hush puppies. Then Saturday comes around, and you got to race Olin Buchanan up there. Get the rib tips. Better call in early.
You know, it's at 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the what?
The best barbecue in Texas, i.e. the entire world.
Hey, believe it or not, that's their trademark.
Facts. It's true.
Facts. It's Fargo's. Estamos aquí, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, David Nuño, Olin Buchanan. Let's return to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, where we find Matthew Dosan. Matthew?
Howdy.
Howdy.
Oh, you just want me to give you some more news? Or how about this?
How about, remember I asked you to read a text?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
God. First day.
Just curious, is there any possibility that TexAgs could get Tommy Moffitt on the show for a segment? He seems like a great interview, and I'm sure we Aggie fans would love it. Maybe even lead up to the interview by collecting questions from listeners.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Already working on that.
Tommy Moffitt, we've got a request in. We think we'll have him on the show at some point soon.
Yeah, we will. I talked to Alan Cannon last night, so that's going to be happening sooner rather than later.
Good. And I might nerd out in that interview. I might just, professionalize it, or I might just go straight into like the nuances of fitness. I don't know.
You're going to tell him what to do.
No. I'm gonna confirm that I'm doing it correct.
Are you going to show up all oiled and in a Speedo
There's
and everything?
There's a chance that happens. Yeah. Well, I mean, just he might be like, join the team, not the football team, but like the strength and conditioning team, or he might be like, bro, you got a long way to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking the bro, you got a long way to go thing
for
what he wants his guys to do.
Maybe I'll develop such a friendship with Tommy
that he'll train you.
Yes, he'll be like, Nuño, you know what, man? I see a lot of potential in you for the 60, 50-year-old like Olympics or of old
Mr.
guys.
Mr. America.
Yeah. Why don't I take you to the next level?
Mr. Geriatric America.
And then if I'm loafing, he will tell me I'm loafing.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a big Tommy Moffitt guy without even meeting him. Just the few interviews I've seen.
I just like the one he did with T-Bob Hebert and that, or Hebert, whatever he wants to call his name. Hebert. And it makes me just some of the things he said and that was said in that interview gives me a lot of encouragement.
OB, before the show started, you brought up a stat to me on A&M's 3-point shooting. And then you followed it up with their overall shooting. I don't know if you have those numbers in front of you.
Well, I just was actually looking up where they are overall. They're overall, according to NCAA.com stats, they're shooting 39.45%, which ranks 342nd in the nation.
Out of how many teams?
351. Oh, so they're in the bottom 10. But they are ahead of UC Riverside, Dartmouth, Rutgers, something called UMES. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Okay.
The alma mater of Clarence Clemens.
And I believe 3-point shooting is in the same ballpark.
3-point shooting is even, I think they're 5th or 6th from the bottom. But
offensive rebounding,
they lead the nation.
Defense, they're got to be up there.
Defense, they're a good. So, you
can't have it all.
There are some. Well, you can, but if you do, you're probably national champion, right? But there are some things they don't do well, but they compensate. And really, at the end of the day, does any of it matters as long as you win?
Yeah.
And the point is, that's going to be something. Those numbers are cause for concern Saturday when Ole Miss comes to town. But like I said before, you just with this team, what you get on Tuesday may be completely different from what you get on.
It's like Forrest Gump, baby. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
That's what it is.
I mean, some of it. You're going to get chocolate.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, caramel is going to be in there.
Right. So, well,
actually, I don't know. I've never opened up a box of chocolates. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I have. I have a guy, this is way off topic, but I have a guy that, Hank, and he brings me M&Ms before the game.
Yeah.
He brings everybody on my roll with some M&Ms.
Yeah.
And yet last night, some of them had caramel in them, right? So I thought, I'll taste it.
I like caramel.
But it's so chewy, it got on, I think you call it a bridge, when they built it. And the whole bridge fell out.
Oh, yeah.
And so I texted my dentist, who's 3.5 hours away up in Liberty City, the great TexAgs family member.
Yeah.
Dr. Chad Silbert, who said, hey,
what
this happened. He said, cool, can you come up here? I said, well, no. But he said, I'll get some fixing it. But anyway, we're talking about that. Half the side of my mouth, the teeth just fell out.
I always think about that extra caramels. You save it for later.
I think I need to stay away from caramel.
Yeah, I get it. What was the other thing I was going to bring up to you? Let's read this Richard Chapman text message, Matthew.
Yes, actually, that's a great one. He said, here's a stat I heard. A&M men's hoops has played 8 quad 1 opponents this season.
Yes.
Few, if any, teams have played that many quad 1 opponents. And I actually have a list up here. Only a couple have played 9, Purdue and Connecticut, and only 4 teams have more quad 1 wins than A&M. That would be Purdue, Connecticut, Houston, and Arizona. Some pretty good teams.
Yeah. They played one of the more difficult schedules in the country, and they're sitting there 11-6 or something, 11-7, 12-7. Yeah, I've always had to go back and double check. And frustratingly close. If they had won just one more of those, like Florida Atlantic or UH, Memphis, but I think they're going to finish with 20-plus wins, and really, I think it's going to. From here on, you're trying to, you're on pace for the NCAA tournament. That's what you want, and it's just about how good can they be to improve their seeding.
This is what I was going to say. I caught a little more flack than I expected for not being a Jim Carrey guy. Yesterday, Billy and I were talking. He brought up, what's that movie? Dumb and Dumber and the other.
Oh, you're talking about, see, I thought you were talking about some, carrying things around in the gym.
No. Jim with a J, Carrey.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I'm not a Jim Carrey fan. Like, I don't like his comedy. He was really good in the movie Man on the Moon when he played
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. And I watched a documentary about how he got ready for that role. It was kind of creepy, but awesome. But I never got into the Ace Ventura kind of character.
Well, I thought Dumb and Dumber, he was hilarious. I thought Me, Myself, and Irene was hilarious. But his and even Bruce Almighty. But I thought his this will shock you. His political views made me decide that I didn't want to be a fan. So I stopped watching.
So you stopped watching? Yeah.
But Dumb and Dumber, he was hilarious. And
Billy doesn't think I laugh. I laugh at Sebastian Maniscalco.
When was the last time you laughed so hard like your sides ached and water came out of your eyes?
Last week, watching Dave Chappelle's special on Netflix, even though it was not one of his better ones. He had a couple of great jokes in there. I love Dave Chappelle. I love anything with Larry David or Jerry Seinfeld.
Because, when I get to laughing, I may lose all composure.
Well, things may come out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't have to tell us. I think we get it. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, I want to talk a little bit of Alex Caruso. There's a little news with him, and I got some other things to bring up. Right now, if you love to travel and want to see the world with fellow Aggies, the Traveling Aggies are inviting you to explore the possibilities at the Traveling Aggies Expo 2025 Showcase, an exclusive event unveiling that 2025 trip. The expo is set for this Friday, January 26, 1:30 to 6 p.m. at the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center, where you can learn about adventures as each travel partner will host several short sessions highlighting unique destinations. You can also take advantage of a special trip saving at the expo. Plus, enjoy a free Messina Hoff wine tasting, door prizes, and a chance to win the grand prize of the Aggie Baseball Weekend, which includes, ladies and gentlemen, 2 tickets to an A&M baseball game in the Association Suite, a 2-night stay at the A&M Hotel Conference Center, dinner for 2 at the Ventures House, and a Messina Hoff wine basket. Online registration is closed, but you can still attend. Walk up the registration at the Alumni Center. It is the Association of Former Students. songs in many movies, but war movies often. Am I right?
Probably.
Born on the 4th of July.
Seems like CCR is always in war movies.
You're thinking about Fortunate Son. The burning.
Well, that's in that's in Forrest Gump.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting download
Maybe
on the
Platoon. Different.
I think Born on the 4th of July may have had
a lot of Vietnam movies have CCR because they're popular from that from that time period. Yeah.
It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. OB, did you see that David Caruso has been invited to the Olympic player pool?
I did not. I know his son did.
Oh, did I say
no,
David Caruso?
David. No, wait, that's the guy from
for that show
from NYPD Blue,
CSI or something. One of those shows.
Yeah,
yeah. Sorry, Alex Caruso, not David.
No,
Caruso.
Mike is his dad. But yeah, Alex, I did see that.
Yeah,
and I think Alex is the type of guy that I wouldn't think he'd make it because they like the big name. You get a lot of it based on name. And his biggest name is Caruso is. He's still not on that level yet. He's the type of guy that if that they would do well to put him on there because let the big name guys score, but somebody's got to do all the other things, and that's what. And Alex can score, but he does all the other things as well. Man, the Lakers haven't won a championship since he left.
Yeah.
There was Anthony Davis is still there. LeBron James is still there. But they haven't won since Alex left. So that tells me Alex was the key to that championship.
Well, he's the kind of guy that I would want on my Olympic team.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, you want him and players like him. There's again, Anderson Garcias of the world. I'm not saying that they're Olympic players, but you want those guys that will do a little bit of everything. They can shoot, they can run. Go ahead.
I would say Anderson would be
not for our team.
He'd probably be an Olympian.
He might be.
For the Dominican Republic.
He might be. Did you see Kevin Durant make the comment yesterday that he doesn't understand why he's not in the GOAT conversation?
I didn't see it. But see, that's what I think's wrong with a lot of professional sports now is why do you even worry about that? Aren't you trying to win a championship?
Well,
I mean, where's your priorities?
I do think Kevin Durant's one of the greatest players in the history of the game. But when we talk about the GOAT status, it is reserved for the best of the eras, right? So Michael, to me, is the GOAT, but the best of his era. You could say Magic or Larry.
Yeah, Bird, definitely.
Of
and
their
Magic
era,
too.
Right? But I still think Michael's a step above those two.
I agree.
LeBron of this era.
Kobe Bryant.
Right.
I mean, those are the guys. I'm not a LeBron fan, but yeah, I can acknowledge that. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Wilt from his era, Bill Russell from his era, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
And the KD thing is he's never won a championship outside of an established champion. And he was their best player when he was there.
Yeah,
I get it. So
that doesn't bother me because you could say the same thing about LeBron James. I mean, if anybody ever manipulated the system to win, it was 100%. LeBron James.
But I think LeBron gets points for me
and
for
Magic
what he did
Johnson
in Cleveland.
but he also brought, made the moves almost himself to get. He wanted Kevin Love. I know he's not a great player, but he said, "Okay, I'm going to get this guy in."
He was the GM of all his teams, no doubt.
Magic Johnson had Kareem. He had James Worthy. He had a heck of a lineup that he just fell into. So Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I always loved Tim Duncan. Did you ever hear Tim Duncan even talk about stuff like that?
No.
Because you know what mattered to him? What mattered to him was winning championships. And and I'll say this about Kevin Durant, because I'm not a huge basketball NBA fan, but it strikes me, and tell me if I'm wrong, Kevin Durant is an elite shooter. But what else does he do?
He drives to the basket great.
Okay.
But he actually had some pretty good.
Is he a great rebounder?
I wouldn't call him a great rebounder.
Is he a great defender?
He was really good in the finals with the Warriors. But he's not great.
So you want to call yourself, why am I not in the GOAT conversation? Well, are you more like James Harden or are you more like Larry Bird?
Well,
I don't know. That's the question I'm asking.
By the way, one name we haven't mentioned, not an elite defender, but might go down as one of the greatest and definitely the greatest shooters, Steph Curry. With all those championships,
Yeah,
you got to give
right.
them but that's we've hit our quota of NBA talk.
Yeah.
Unless we bring up Luka and the Mavs, I'm good.
And Alex Caruso. Hey, Alex Caruso, GOAT, as far as I'm concerned.
And his uncle David Caruso, the great actor.
Yeah, and Robinson, his great grandfather, played for the Islanders.
That's right. Mel Kiper thinks Jaden Daniels is worthy of the number 2 pick.
The number 2 pick.
So he's got it.
Oh,
Caleb Williams 1. Jaden Daniels 2. Drake May 3.
Okay, quarterback's top 3. I like Jaden Daniels, but I'd pump the brakes on that. I wonder where has Michael Penix going.
I don't have that in front of me.
I just wonder.
He also has
second round.
He also has Malik Neighbors in the top 10.
Okay, I can get on board with that. That guy's good.
And I say all that to you because I do not know enough about LSU's roster. I don't. Right?
Uh-huh.
I know a little bit, but I don't know enough. You lose 2 top 10 guys.
Right. Plus their other top receiver.
And they didn't have a great year this year.
No. They had the year I thought they'd have.
Yeah. Can they take a step back from that based on, I don't know their schedule. I can pull it up here as we're talking, but like there's a lot of talk of them getting into the playoffs, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think you just always assume LSU's going to be a contender. And maybe they're not going to be. I do like the offensive line they're going to have coming back.
Defense should be better because of the changes they made.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be better, though. I mean, it can't be a whole lot worse. So maybe it would be better because it was so atrocious. But Mason Smith leaving. What is that? Mekai Wingo is gone. Yeah. Some other guys are going. Of course, in their case, they may have some addition by subtraction.
So I have their schedule here for the upcoming year. They open up with USC in Las Vegas. That should be a win. I don't know enough about USC, but Nichols, followed South Carolina.
Yeah.
UCLA.
Yeah. So they're playing USC and UCLA.
Yeah. South Alabama.
Okay.
So far.
I got them 5-0.
Yeah, me too. Ole Miss, 5-1.
5-1. Where's that
in
game?
Baton Rouge, actually.
5-1. My son's going to call drunk and upset. It's going to be 5-1.
At Arkansas.
That's a win, 6-1.
God, already bowl eligible. October. Texas A&M at A&M.
6-2.
There we go. That's my guy right there. That's my guy.
Hey, we got the new strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, Tommy Moffitt in the house. Alabama visits Baton Rouge. I don't know about Bama either.
It's true. Man, that's a coin flip. I'm going to give LSU today the win at home. Who's playing for Alabama anymore?
Right. I mean, there's still another portal.
Dawson just looked at me like, what are you talking about? Who's playing for Alabama?
7-2 heading into a game in Gainesville against
a
sinking ship.
8-2.
Oh, my gosh. The schedule is fantastic.
Troy Landry.
You know who's next?
Shoot those Gators.
Vanderbilt.
There's a win.
9-2. Holy smokes. And then they close out at Baton Rouge. Is every game at Baton Rouge against Oklahoma?
I'm looking at 10-2 at
God
least.
Bless.
So they're a contender.
Yeah, they are. I just talked myself into it. Even though they lost Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors.
But I'll say
Mason
this about
Smith.
LSU, and I know we have LSU fans listening, and I respect them and everything, but I think they need to pump the brakes on Nussmeier being their guy because look how good he looked against in the bowl game. It was Wisconsin. With the whole Big Ten West was atrocious, and they didn't even win it. It was in Wisconsin.
I like how you say Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Let's hit a break. We'll check in with the Angry Elephant News and Social Center when we come back. Right now, we're talking QC Kinetics. You can make the decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain. Have fun in 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or your shoulder. All you got to do is call QC Kinetics. They're great people over there, and they are the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue, and QC Kinetics can make it happen. That's what they do. No drug, no downtime, no surgery. The future of pain treatments has arrived here in the Brazos Valley, and QC has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America, people with back pain, hip pain, and any pain associated with arthritis or injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is revolutionary treatment that can get you moving once again. Get your life back, and listen, it's non-surgical. If this year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step and call the great people there at QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation and put it on the calendar. Stop wasting time, ladies and gentlemen. 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics. 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. Tell me.
I know we have people that don't like us to talk music, but I don't care.
I don't care.
Guess who?
I do care, but I don't.
Guess who is the artist on this?
Turn it up a little bit, guys.
No sugar tonight, Michael. Guess who is the artist here?
NoClue.com.
Guess who?
The guess. The who.
No. Guess who?
Who?
Guess who? It's like the Abbott and Costello. The name of the band is Guess Who?
That's the name of the band?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Who's on first? Guess who?
What's the main guy's name, though?
Burton Cummings.
Burton. Big B.
Yeah. I think they're a Canadian band. But anyway,
Okay.
moving on.
Can I probably shouldn't do this, but can I give my son a little bit of props?
Absolutely.
I know that people don't like when we go too personal, but too bad. So yesterday they had a game in the rain. Okay.
Yes.
They didn't win. They tied. All right. When I know you hate that about soccer, but Christian Cruz get home. They do homework until 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Okay. This morning, they joined me at MMA, at Brazos Valley MMA, and they did kickboxing with me. Then at 7 a.m., I dropped them off at the school for them to do soccer before they start school. Then they do school. Then they do soccer practice, rinse and repeat. They're dedicated. I'm as a father, I'm proud of their,
Yeah. Well,
that's
you
on
should
their
be.
own. So,
But there's a lot of kicking involved with them.
a lot of kicking, and a lot of kicking if you know what. Ha-ha. They're ready to take you on, OB. No, actually, they're not. They're good.
Kickboxing,
Jiu-jitsu, soccer.
European kickball.
Your favorite sport now?
Yeah.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center where we can find Matthew Dawson. Give us a text or two, please.
Text or two. Well, we got one text from someone in particular. James in Dallas says,
James,
we need to stop with the slow starts. Only the
Yes.
Kentucky game, we have you come out looking prepared and locked in. Thank you, James.
They do have a tendency to have trouble to get started. They're kind of like a old car in the winter on a cold day. You know, it takes a while, but once they get started, you know, they're reliable for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, those slow starts have doomed them against Arkansas.
Why do you think the slow start? We've kind of figured out the shooting issues. Why the slow starts? Does it just take a little while for their defense to get into groove? And
No, I think it's about shooting.
Yeah,
it's about shooting. But
and if you're a bad shooting team, you're going to have slow starts.
But you know what's frustrating is you go back to that first loss against LSU, and I know they didn't come out like a juggernaut, but they had the lead at the half.
Yep.
And then they folded in the second half, which goes back to my original, you know, at the beginning of the hour take is that you just don't know what you're going to get with these guys.
Yeah.
There's certain elements, but don't take anything you see in one game and let that influence your opinion on what's going to happen in the next.
Yep. Did you see Will Rogers takes his name out of the portal, going to stay at Washington, which I actually like for a selfish reason. I was worried that he may end up at Auburn or something.
I thought he might end up at Alabama.
Potential, but Auburn because A&M is playing them next year.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there was a thought he could go to
Washington's
Bama.
a great place for him. Do well,
And
Will.
Jed Fish is a good coach.
He is. He is. He's bringing some guys from Arizona with him up there. So Washington might be.
He was one of the names I was semi-interested in. Like, he wasn't my number one candidate, but I was like, you know, when A&M was looking for their coach, I was like, I'd be intrigued by him. But there was other people above him in my obviously
I
Elko.
always liked Elko, and I always wanted to get Elko. Just made sense to me. Fish, great job at Arizona, which is a dead end usually, but it was just a 1 year thing there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he couldn't have maintained it, but I'd like to see somebody be good for a longer period. You don't want to be, I've seen some coaches that come in after they had a good year someplace and just languish at their new job, and then, you got to run them out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you what we have on the show today.
Tell me.
I'm not going to go in order. I'm going to start off with the lead. I am very excited. Max Wright will be here in studio at 9:35.
Well, I see him working out on social media.
If after his NFL career, if he wants to host this show, I think he could do it too. He's a great kid, great speaker. I'm looking forward to chatting with him. So Max Wright, 9:35. Pat Henry at 9:19. John Harris at 9 o'clock. So I did the reverse order in the 9 o'clock hour, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew about Max Wright. Then a lot of basketball. We'll have some football in between, but we'll have a lot of basketball in the 10 o'clock hour. Tom Schuberth in studio. We've got Pounding the Rock with Tap and Hop, and we'll have around the SEC and some other football thoughts. So that's what we got planned for you.
A lot to look forward to.
So bad shooting continues. It is what it is.
Hey, they've won 2 in a row.
Yep. And they've won how many at home in a row? 4? Is that right?
Well, they lost at the LSU game.
Oh, yeah, so it's not 4 in a row at home.
But you know, they've won 2 in a row, and they were 1 second away from being at 3 in a row. So got Ole Miss coming in this weekend. You know, see if you can't keep it going. Again, this is the opportunity with 3 games at home. You've won the first one.
You've got to play better than you did yesterday against
And
Ole
they
Miss.
will.
Yeah.
Because, again, you don't assume what you saw in one game is really going to have an effect on another, especially with this team. It's a new episode every game.
Thank you, Olin.
You bet.
All right, so hour number 2 is coming straight ahead. As I mentioned, John Harris. We'll break down the NFL, get you ready for this weekend's NFC and AFC championship game. Plus, we'll get into some other things. College football, of course, will be in the mix. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio where the difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and several other states. They've got 45 offices right here in Texas. Their headquarters on Highway 6 in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. Let's go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline, joined by my buddy, John Harris. Johnny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How's this week been like? Kind of like unwinding after the season, celebrating some of the great successes out there. Just how was it for you?
Weird.
Yeah.
I think weird is probably the word that comes to mind. I mean, it was good. I think there was a lot of frustration with Saturday, just knowing that they could have played better. I said it during the week, whether on radio or not. I mean, we could have played our A to A- game, and we'd still probably come up short. But, we had so many penalties and got behind the sticks so often. It was just so frustrating. I think that was probably the first thing that came to mind. But what I did find, interesting in some sense was when we talked to D'Amico and Nick, we really didn't even bring up the game. We talked about the season that was. Nobody expected this at all. But I think what's going to be interesting now is this is a team that has to now deal with expectation. Come out of nowhere and you're, the flavor of the month for the last 3 months of the year because you got this wunderkind at quarterback. You've got Will Anderson, a rookie, doing things that, rookies just don't do. Tank Dell has been incredible. And now you got to turn around and deal with expectation. And now it's like, hey, why are you winning these close games? You shouldn't be in close games with the Cardinals. You're going to have to fight these expectations from media and outside people. And the vibe of things is going to change. And I guess, I hope not. This has been the best team to be around. I don't know that I've been around a better team. Every dude that walked in that building, man, was gracious, said thank you. I think Will Anderson put it best. Will Anderson said, in this building, it doesn't take much to say something to, the custodial staff or to say thank you or good morning to people in the cafeteria staff or just be a positive human being. And I have been in that building, and I was in that building for 6-7 years when it was not that way. Everything was negative, backstabbing, lies, leaking things to the media, and it was not fun. This year was more fun than I've ever had with a football team, Texans or otherwise. There's only one that even compares, and that was my final year of coaching. That's it. This one was fun. They competed. They played some great games. They rose above their heads, beat Tennessee at Tennessee wearing the Oilers jerseys. They won a playoff game and dominated the Browns doing it. It was a great season, but it was kind of weird. It's kind of like, all right, what do we do now with our time? Going to go rest, and I just go to draft stuff. I just go from work to work. So this week will be a little bit about catching up on some rest and really kind of diving back into my draft stuff.
So we had Shireen Williams on the show yesterday, and she thinks the coach of the year is going to come down to Stefanski versus D'Amico Ryans. I think Dan Campbell should be one of the names mentioned there. Make the case for D'Amico. Not that I think we have to hear it, but and maybe why is Kevin Stefanski one of the names we're hearing so much?
Well, I'll make a case for the other two guys first. First of all, I agree with you about Dan Campbell. Basically, I'll make their case, and then I'll tell you why I don't think they should get it. But I think Dan Campbell did a heck of a job. And I think, them to the NFC North Championship. The flip side of that is everybody expected them to win the NFC North. There were many, many people that had them. Yeah, the Lions are the team, that are going to get this done. Dan Campbell has done a hell of a job in 3 years of taking the Lions from being everybody's, circled win to, boy, they really compete hard, to last year 9-8, just missing out but knocking the Packers out of the playoffs, to going to Kansas City in week 1 of this year, beating the Chiefs, and then getting them the NFC North Championship, and now taking them to the NFC Championship. Now, the thing about Coach of the Year is that it's based on just your regular season. So Dan did a great job. There's no question. But I think the talent was really there. The rookies came in, they did a nice job, but the talent was already there. He had already started cultivating that program, and he took it from, right way of saying this, he took it from level 8, 9. The right way of saying it. Stefanski, I think, is going to get consideration because they got into playoffs. They won more games than they've won in a long time, and did it with 4 different quarterbacks. You know, his quarterback goes down. He does it with a rookie. He does it with the former Roughnecks quarterback. He brings in Joe Flacco, and they win games. So he's going to get consideration for that because they won it with all those different quarterbacks. But underachieving, in particular, because the defensive roster has been rock solid, but they underachieved last year. And so in comparison, like, oh, it looks really good compared to last year. No, I mean, yes and no. And then obviously in the playoffs, we spanked them pretty good, but the vote is already done by then. But I think Stefanski is going to get a lot of credit for winning 11, 12 games, whatever it was, with 4 different quarterbacks. I think that's going to definitely be his sales point. But again, that roster was already in place. And I feel like the Browns had underachieved prior years, largely because they were hamstrung by a certain quarterback. Fancy got them through that this year. So I give him kudos for that. It's very simple for D'Amico. This organization was ruined by 2 people, basically. And one should get Executive of the Year, Nick Caserio, and the other, D'Amico Ryans, took a team that was 3-13-1, had the 2nd pick in the draft, was largely thought to be a joke. 31st, when power rankings came out, they were 31st in the NFL. They will finish 6th or 7th. D'Amico Ryans, to me, is the coach of the year because he made a city believe. He took a rookie quarterback, a rookie offensive coordinator. He was a rookie himself and took them to levels that they haven't been. AFC South won last year. They finished 4th. So if I couldn't vote for D'Amico, I would vote for Dan Campbell. Stefanski did a great job winning with different quarterbacks, but they won games largely because of the defense, not really what the quarterback was doing until Joe Flacco got in there. And they won games with Joe. So Stefanski should get some credit. There's no doubt. I would vote for Dan Campbell. If you did it the whole season, I think D'Amico gets it in a runaway. But I think that Dan Campbell's done as great a coaching job in a place where you can't win. And he's won big. And he's done it with some Aggies. So I'll be curious to see where AG goes. He should get a head coaching job. I hate the fact that, he won't be able to, probably devote all of his time to getting a head coaching job because he'll be worried about the NFC Championship game. But one day, whether it's next year or the year after, AG is going to be coaching in the NFL. The Aggies will have 2. But I think the coach of the year is D'Amico Ryans.
Talking to John Harris on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. What is it going to take for those Lions to beat the 49ers?
For Christian McCaffrey to not play, Deebo Samuel to not play. I think McCaffrey will play. I don't know about Deebo, and that kind of changes things. Deebo is a nice little wild card that the 49ers have had, and I think a lot of teams have been looking. I mean, we tried this year to kind of find that wild card like Deebo. Like, how do we get this guy involved in different ways that he can put pressure on a defense in different ways you don't expect? So I think Deebo's a big factor. My gut tells me he'll try and give it a go, and that's going to be a tough go. The biggest thing is you've got to generate turnovers from Purdy, and you got to turn those into 7. If you think about who's beaten the 49ers this year, or he's even got close, the Ravens turned over the Niners all day long and then turned them into 7, not 3. And that's the key. If the Lions get turnovers, they got to turn those into 7s. And that's obviously going to be tough against this defense. They got to continue to get Jahmyr Gibbs the football in different ways. And Sam Laporta is going to have a tougher matchup this week against these linebackers than he's had against anybody all year long. And that's tough because they got to get Sam Laporta the football. Now, the Lions can do things in different ways. Ben Johnson's going to have to fight things. He's the offensive coordinator. I got to do these creative things. No, just do your thing. Run the football. with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, establish the line of scrimmage, try and get Laporta involved, but get the ball to 26, Jahmyr Gibbs, as much as you can in different ways, because he's the one guy I don't know that anybody really matches up well with. So I give the Lions a shot because Dan Campbell's leading them, and he'll make them believe that they can win. And right now they believe they can win anywhere, and that belief is huge. It made us think we could go beat Baltimore, and Baltimore is the best team in football. So 49ers can be beat. They've been beaten on their own turf by 2 touchdowns just 3-4 weeks ago on Christmas night, whatever that was, a month ago. So it's possible, but you got to turn them over and then turn those turnovers into 7s. And if you do that, then you got a great shot to go in there and upset them.
Johnny, which quarterback is playing the best at the end of the year? Is it Lamar? Is it Patrick? Who is playing the best?
Lamar.
Yeah.
And I said this before the game, my first hit, pre-game. And I said, set the scene and all that. And I said, guys, I think there are 2 keys tonight. Number one, everybody's talking about Mark Andrews being out. I said, Isaiah Likely's an absolute dude. He's going to be a problem. He caught a touchdown pass. He was a problem. But things get tough. You look at the 4 teams. When things get tough, Brock Purdy can run it a little bit. 9 runs for him. Jared Goff isn't going to run it at all. Is sneakily, he's sneaky, but they don't design runs for him. He does his from scrambles, and they hurt. The Ravens design run plays for Lamar Jackson, and they're killers. Quarterback draw, fake, naked was incredible play call by Todd Monken. They designed those things for Lamar. So if those 3 quarterbacks aren't really hurting you throwing the ball, you're going to feel pretty good about slowing them down. If Lamar's not throwing the ball exceptionally well, it's almost more worrisome because he'll then turn and run it. Scary. And that's kind of what happened to us. We were really kind of holding him in check throwing the ball. There's a key moment in the game where he throws a ball to the goal line. It's 10-10. It's the first drive of the third quarter. And Jalen Petre's got it in his hands. And as he hits the ground, it pops out. Play. What did they do? 10 quarterback draw touchdown. So the Ravens have this opportunity and have the quarterback to be able to say, you know what, passing game's not quite there. The running game's good. Well, they have Lamar Jackson. And I think that's kind of what separates all these teams, and it's what separates all these quarterbacks. That Lamar has thrown the ball well. They get in a situation where that's not quite happening, they always can turn to his legs, and his legs always produce. And they killed us in the second half. Killed us because they designed runs for him and called them in the perfect spot. And in those runs, what's interesting is in those runs, the 3 I remember the most, the 4th and 1, the quarterback drop for a touchdown, his other running touchdown, I don't think we touched him. 4th and 1, we caught up to him, and then he eventually kind of slid down. We didn't touch him. He didn't take a hit on any of those. So quarterbacks take hits and they drop in the pocket to throw. He's running the ball, not even taking a hit. So I think he's the best quarterback right now in the league because of all that he can do. And he scares me more than anybody. And we unfortunately had to play him to start the season and to end the season. But he's the best quarterback right now. He's the MVP. I think the Chiefs' defense is very good, much better than it's been. But there's so much to have to slow down in the Ravens' offense. It's going to be really tough for them to do it. And if they're giving up 7s, then it's going to be tough for Mahomes to consistently have to come from behind. He can do it, but that's going to be a tough hill to climb if he has to do it. Ravens, okay, well, then you go down and kick a field goal if you're the Chiefs. Touchdown Ravens. Well, you're down 14-3, and now you're chasing the rest of the game. And it really could go that way for the Ravens and the Chiefs. But I think the Ravens are the best team that I've seen this year. Much better than the team I thought was, on par with them was the Browns. The Ravens are incredible, and they were rested and they were ready.
Johnny, let's talk about the Harbaugh family. If you look at the last year, Michigan getting embarrassed, the cheating scandal, and then winning the national championship here, and Jim probably going to the Chargers, if that's still a thing. I haven't looked this morning. And you've got John potentially winning his second Super Bowl, who almost lost Lamar Jackson, right? They had to change the offense, and he has a chance in the same 30-day span or close to it of both of them winning at the highest level and maybe being in the same league here in a couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah, I thought about that on Monday, the national championship night, because I saw John on the field with Jim, and I went, oh, man, they could win the national championship and the Super Bowl. Holy smokes. And John got one of his championships, his only championship against Jim. When Jim was with the 49ers. I mean, it's an unbelievable coaching family. I don't know what to say about them. They understand. They understand how to do this. Yeah, look, the whole cheating scandal and getting signs and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot to me. It reminded me a lot of the Astros trash can banging situation. I won't ever sit here and tell you that I was happy with what the Astros did. Never. I won't do it. But I will say they definitely were not the only ones. And that was something that was pervasive in baseball at the time. I think the same thing with Michigan. Now, did they do it to the degree others did it? No. But everybody knew championship game 2013 that Gus Malzahn and Auburn were stealing Florida State signals. Question. Florida State was furious. They knew it. And so this has been going on a long time. It's just the way that Michigan did it. Videoing it from the sideline, sending people to games to video it from the like that part of it is, and Harbaugh order the code red. Who knows? I do know this. Jim Harbaugh is a really good football coach. I know that because he was stealing signals for his entire career, and I don't think that was the case. I don't know, because where you can't steal signals is in the NFL, and he took a team to the Super Bowl. So Jim Harbaugh has been a hell of a coach. John Harbaugh has been in Baltimore for, I think this was his 16th year.
Wow.
I mean, who stays past 7 or 8 years? No one. And John had that period where they were bordering on, did they get into the wild card? Did they not? Did they get the wild card or not? One year they get it. One year they get knocked off by the Bengals, And then they added Lamar Jackson. And they started surrounding him with a bunch of dudes and a bunch of angry, violent on the field dudes. Roquan Smith is an absolute MFer. Like, he's the perfect linebacker in this league. And he plays next to one of the league's best in Patrick Queen. The guys they have up front, they take Michael Pierce. They put Michael Pierce in the field. He's 350. They take him off to put Travis Jones in the field. He's 345. Like, and athletic. Like, how do you block that? Oh, then their pickup this offseason was Jadeveon Clowney. Everybody could have had Clowney. He goes to Baltimore, and all of a sudden he finds his 2016 self. And I talked to him before the first game, and I said, "You in the right spot?" He said, "This place is awesome." They get Kyle Van Noy off the trash heap, and he has a key TFL and a sack against us at the playoff game. Like, what? Kyle Van Noy is like football dead. And what? So John Harbaugh is and has been doing things great for a long time. They just win differently. They don't win the sexy way with Mahomes and Kelsey and all that. They just win by physically browbeating you in a football game. And to me, that's probably more sexy. I did not like seeing our team go through that. But my God, when you see them take over a game, it's like, whoa, okay, I get it. And John Harbaugh has done that for a long, long time. So I hope the Ravens win it. I'd like to see the Harbaugh thing because I do think down deep they're good guys. I've met Jim many, many years ago. He's a little quirky, but he was a good guy. He was a good guy to us on radio. So from that standpoint, hopefully they'll get it. I don't want to see the Chiefs get it. I don't want to see the Chiefs get there. I would love to see Ravens-Lions. That would be fun, but I think it'll be Ravens-49ers. It'll be a rematch. And in the rematch, I do give the 49ers a shot because I don't know if they'll turn the ball over as much. But in the end, I think the Ravens are just that much more physical and dominant.
John, let's close out with this. Got about 30 seconds or less. Do you have it Ravens-Niners? Is that what you're expecting for the Super Bowl?
That's what I'd expect. I think if there's an upset, I do think it'd be the Chiefs just because that championship pedigree has been there, man. And that matters. That matters. Experience in this thing matters a lot. And hopefully we got it with the Texans. The Ravens have not been in this situation. So they do have the home game, do have the home crowd. But I think if there is an upset, it's the Chiefs. I think the Niners are going to beat the Lions by a touchdown and move on in, and then take on the Ravens. At that point, well, that's going to be a fun game. Chiefs, Niners, Ravens, Niners will be a fun Super Bowl. If the Lions get in, it'll be an incredible Super Bowl.
Johnny, appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, man.
Later, bro.
Take care, buddy.
John Harris on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We'll come back with Coach Henry here in studio right now. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. So let's start your search online. You go to that website, you're going to find the great deals, right? And when you find that deal, you're like, all right, let me just go in person and check it out. You'll make the drive to Caldwell, and you're going to be blown away by the selection there when you get there. It's one thing to see it online and get a kind of feel for it, but then when you actually smell the new car smell, you see all the selection there, and you get to test drive it, and then you get the great customer service, and they start talking to you about how they're going to take care of you afterwards, and they got the complimentary pickup. And, oh, by the way, we love Aggie Athletics. We're proud sponsors of Aggie Athletics. You're like, this is the place for me. When you're buying a vehicle, you want it to be kind of in the family, right? You want to be somewhere that you can trust, and that's why you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. It's about a 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryan to the beginning of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. We're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Our weekly chat with Pat Henry is here.
Yep.
Brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, where you can save 10% in store when you mention the code TexAgs10. Check out the new location at Century Square. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Doing real well.
It's the busy time of year.
Yeah, it's we were just saying it's really nice to have an indoor facility now again.
So what would you have done last year?
We'd have been outside. Wow. Yeah, we'd have been outside. You can't miss training days, and to some degree we would have had to be outside. It wouldn't have been a normal day, but you'd have done what you have to do.
And then for any of the indoor portion, do you just go to a gym? Like what would like?
No,
everything's outdoors.
Everything's outside.
Wow. And then what if there's lightning? You have to go to a covered place, I guess.
Yeah, I try to keep those people away from me.
Well, let's talk about the.
No, I have somebody. Saul Luna's got he's attached to the lightning detector indicator on his phone, and I can't go 5 steps without him being right there to tell me I can't do this and I can't do that. I call him. We make fun of him because he's just like he's the temple of doom. Everything he has to say is negative.
Well, what's the distance that you have to go back indoors? Is it 10 miles? Is it 8 miles? Or somewhere around there?
Yeah, it's 10. I think it's 10. But my gosh, I mean, I think at one time we were like 15, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I understand everybody's everybody's got issues, so we got to make sure and do what they say to do.
Second meet of the year done. 7 winners this past meet. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think they're significant in just because of the level of competition. Our first 2 meets here, we've had some great institutions come in here. We hadn't had big meets, but every school that's come in has been really good. And on a national level, they've been good for years. Maybe not, ready to go right now, just like we aren't ready to go right now in some ways. But we've had really great competitions, and each one has been a step up. So this weekend, a lot of schools, bigger meet, and we'll test us in a different way.
Matthew, remind me, Lamar, was it 6'4" is what you were telling me at the top of the show? Is that right?
6'4" and a quarter.
6'4" and a quarter. That is a lot.
It's a big jump. Yeah. Next jump is Olympic qualifying bar, in fact.
Okay.
So, it's significant. It's the best opener she's ever had, and I've never had a high jumper open at 6'4". Yeah.
And then Heather, excellent performance there on the pole vault.
Yep, she's being Heather right now, and if she's got another couple bars in her, I think, and right now, and so we'll see. This weekend should be a good competition.
I practiced with you earlier, Jonier Thomas.
Jonier.
Oh gosh.
See, but I get it wrong too.
Jonier.
Yeah.
And the long jump.
21.6 is a really good jump right now too, and she's a multi-event athlete. So she's not just a long jumper. She's one of our multis. So that's a good jump for a multi. But we knew, she was one that I don't know that anybody remembers this, but at the national meet they made a mistake in the regional competition. And they missed one of her jumps, and she missed the qualifying, and actually she did qualify.
Oh, wow.
And so she came back the next day and jumped real far in the multi. And if she'd have done that in the regular competition, it would have been a completely different finish at the national meet than what it was.
There's a note that I didn't read earlier, but Lamar ranked 2nd in the nation following her season debut last week, and she also won SEC Women's Field Athlete of the Week for the 7th time in her career.
Yeah. She's and that says a lot about her. She's been good for a long time, but now she's really ramping it up. This is an Olympic year, so there, certain people, certain times in their careers, these are the years that their emphasis is very high.
Typically, we have Eric here. Matthew wrote in some notes. I don't know if you came up with it. This is your nickname for him, or is this a real nickname?
I just threw it in there.
Okay.
I hope you like it.
The killer from Keller is what he calls Eric Casares. Smoked the mile this weekend. He had a great one.
Yeah, he did. He ran well. He got out, took the lead, and never gave it up. Yeah, he looked good.
That kid's he's great here.
Now he's sick today.
Yeah,
that's just what he needed.
Well, you just got to recover,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we tell people. I mean, nobody cares if you're sick. Well, you got to get yourself ready to go, and he will. He'll come back.
You absolutely will. Connor did great in the hurdles.
Yep, Connor looks good. He's a mature athlete. He's worked very hard to get where he is. Connor's been one of our hardest working athletes we have, and it's starting to pay off for him.
And how about Jack Johnson in the 3,000 meter?
Yeah, he's coming. I mean, he's a competitor, and it'll be fun to see what he does. I mean, he's in tall cotton here pretty quick, but it was a good meet for him to run, and he did real well.
How can this past meet propel you?
Yeah.
Not only for Arkansas, but just the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's a preparation. It's a rehearsal, like we talk about. It was one step up. It's a little bit better competition. This one this week is a big step up again. So, yeah, every competition gets your brain more focused. You're better focused on what it takes for you to get the best out of yourself.
There's a rhythm, right? Like,
yeah,
you want to be great
rhythm.
now, but
yeah,
you also want to be great when it matters the most.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of sport is about rhythm and getting in that, and that's not just athletics. That's being in a rhythm with your sleep. That's doing things right with everything you do. That creates that rhythm for yourself, and we talked about that yesterday in team meeting. You know, it's Saturday is competition. Sunday, some people think is an off day.
Yeah.
It is for us, in NCAA-wise, but for you physically, it's not an off day. If you're sleeping too much, if you're not hydrating the same, if your diet's not the same.
Is there such a thing as sleeping too much?
Oh, yeah. Then Monday is a bad day.
Ah, okay.
And you can't get these things out of yourself on a Monday training session. It doesn't mean that Monday is a hard training session, but you have to be at a certain level to get anything out of the workout. Everybody can go work out. Everybody can go work out.
Or are you making progress in that workout?
That's right. Are you doing the things that are going to help you? That's right.
I always tell my kids, you don't want to just check the box and
That's
say,
right. I went.
It's better than not going,
yeah.
But you want to improve whatever discipline you're working on.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not, you don't always see it in an athletic performance.
Yeah.
You don't always see it in practice that I'm actually improved myself. But it's accumulation of doing it. It's accumulation of days and months and years of
Sand in
doing
an hourglass.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's about that accumulation of training.
Last thing, I'm fascinated by you said too much sleep. So what is the sweet spot for you all? Is it 8 to 9?
Everybody's a little bit different, but yeah, you're in that 8 hour. It's around that 8 hour window.
Yeah.
You know. You sit around on a day and you just sit there. It's hard to get up and do the things that are just normal, you know. Yeah.
I get between 6:50 and like 7:20, and I need 8. And I'm at my best when I get 8 and beyond. Sometimes life happens with kids and whatnot, but I can only imagine for a fine-tuned athlete how important that is.
Yeah, and it's a discipline that you have to work very hard at. That sounds stupid. You have to work hard to sleep. But a lot of people, you know, doing things that put you in that mental state where you can get that kind of sleep is really important.
Coach Henry, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Come out and watch a meet. Next week, we're home again. It's a dedication of the facility next week. So there's a lot going on here. We have another meet that we host on Friday with other universities here. We only compete at the Saturday meet, although there's a DMR that's run on Friday that distance medley relay that all 12 schools will participate in. So we kind of have a Friday evening, Saturday meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck in Arkansas.
Yeah.
We'll be watching, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you to Brazos Running Company for bringing this interview. Remember, you can save 10% in store when you mention the code TexAgs10. Check out that location at Century Square. I'm going to hit a break. We'll come back. Max Wright should be here in studio next on TexAgs Radio. All right, let's get right into it. Max Wright is in studio here. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. What's up?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Hey, so I told you before the show, like, I feel like we know you. You're very genuine when you're on the podium, but I wanted to kind of get to know you a little bit more, and just because I think one of the things that you do so well, and there's some former players that have done so well, is you speak to the tone of the team without going too low, but also kind of understanding where you are. Where the team was. So just for you, kind of categorize your time at A&M, what it meant for you, the highs and lows, and kind of all of it come together.
Man.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, I was just about to say. This has been the greatest 6 years, which a lot of guys can't say, of my entire life. Coming out of high school, it was pretty obvious to me where I wanted to go. Had some family that was being brought into my family. So my brother's wife is the only Aggie who's connected into my family. Okay. And actually a generational Baylor Bear. Okay. Which is surprising enough. But yeah, I mean, I just came to a couple games here, saw Kyle Field. I was here for the Tennessee game whenever we won in OT or at the end of the game. And immediately fell in love with this place. I mean, just the people, the atmosphere, the fans, just how everyone seems so genuine, and I don't know, from my first day on campus, I just knew that this was the place that I wanted to be. I mean, even if the transfer portal was as big of a deal and all the NIL stuff, I wouldn't have gone anywhere. This is where I want to be. Well,
Leadership, to me, I think you're born with it, and you can definitely get better at it. Were you always a voice of leadership for A&M? I'm sure you had it in high school for your guys, but how long did it take for you to find your voice across the street?
Man, coming in with the freshman class, it was kind of me and Leon. We were the ringleader of that 2018 class. And it was a little chaotic whenever, because we were all recruited by someone. Right. And Coach Fisher came in 2 months before the final signing day. So we were all we had some guys who ended up leaving, not coming. But I mean, we had a really solid crew that came in, and it was kind of me and Leon who were the leaders of that group. But finding my voice over there, it took probably 2-3 years. But I think I established myself. What I wanted to do was come in and be a guy who earned respect pretty quick. And that was through summer workouts and being someone who the older guys would see immediately as someone okay, this kid's here to work. He's not here to just mess around or, waste our time. He's here to, put it on the line for all of us too. And I think I did a good job of that. And I think that, any of the older guys who I talked to, there's an immediate respect that's remembered because I tried to carry myself that way. And I take pride in that. But yeah, I think it probably took 2 years, maybe 2 years for me to really get to where I could speak out and really start speaking to guys. But I mean, I was chirping and already talking pretty much from day one, to be honest.
Tell me if this is fair. At A&M, I think every player's beloved, but tight ends are typically not ones that I think people talk about, but you are one of those guys. You're one of the faces of the program when people talk about A&M, and even through your injuries. Is that how is that for you? And you go out to eat and people are hey, there's Max Wright. Is it weird?
It's cool. It's an honor to be kind of seen as somebody who's kind of the face of the program, especially a program that's of this magnitude and is obviously so respected around the country. But yeah, I don't know. It has been cool, Tight ends, just like you said, aren't usually the guys who get the most love, and especially one who didn't really get a chance to be the big time receiving tight end was more the I'm gonna bury my head in your face tight end. But yeah, it's been really cool. It's funny you say that. I was coming back from a ranch weekend trip and was stopping at a Buc-ee's, and someone stopped me and recognized me. And I was like, man, it was kind of a sobering moment where you're man, I'm going to be away from this. I'm done being a Texas A&M football player, and this is kind of going to start fading. And it was one of those last moments where you're man, that was really special.
It ain't going to fade, bro.
I know, but as you get farther away from it, it's not as common. It's not as frequent.
Well, honestly, your Travis Kelce performances against South Carolina throughout the years, I might keep you around. What was it about South Carolina?
I don't know. Every time it just seemed like that was my place to go and score for some reason. It was in the stars. But I don't know. I just got opportunities at those places and just tried to capitalize on them. For some reason, the ball kept finding its way to me. But I like playing in that stadium. That stadium's really fun to play in, actually. It's a heck of an environment. It's fun.
God, that last time you guys played there, it still eats at me how one play there or one play here, and this whole thing looks different, Max.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, that game in particular, in the first 4 minutes, we were down 2 scores.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, what the heck just happened? I mean, I remember them taking back the opening kickoff 105 yards or whatever. And that was one of the loudest like moments I've been in SEC football. And that state, it was a nighttime game. We were coming in number 6.
You were up there, yeah.
We were up there, high-ranked team. And it just goes to show, like, you can't necessarily win a game in the first minutes, but you can put yourself behind the 8 ball. You know, that year frustrates me.
Yeah, that year you came into the season 6. I think at that point you guys were not, but it was still one of those games that, like, even after that, like, there were these moments. I want to go back a little bit to 2018. I don't remember what you looked like. I don't, like, back then.
Yeah.
But defensive line to now, like, I'm sure your body's morphed into it. How did the transition happen? Take us through that.
Man, it was a hard one. So whenever I came in A&M, I was like a 245 pounds, wanted to be a stand-up edge guy. Elko came in and kind of brought in a different style of defense, and he wanted me to play more of a 5-tech or like a 4-eye. So I needed to put on some weight. So my weight in college went all over the place.
Okay.
So I started out 245. That first summer, I had to put on like 25 pounds. So I got up to like 270. And then after that, whenever I was wanting to make my switch to defensive end or to tight end from defensive end, I had to drop another like 25 pounds. So my weight was going all over the place. But transition-wise, the hardest part was the mental aspect. You go from learning one side of the ball and trying to learn all the ins and outs of, stunts and everything. And defensive lines, no disrespect to defensive linemen, it's simple compared to being a tight end. And having to learn Coach Fisher's offense it's as everyone says, it's very, very in depth and it's very dynamic. And having to learn that was, a lot. But the hardest transition portion was the mental side, like sitting and just trying to learn how to run a slant route and trying to learn how to run different routes in the scheme. That's really the hardest part.
I don't know if it's a fair question, but do they ever simplify the offense when the losses started, the quarterbacks were getting hurt? Like, it seemed like, that those play sheets were there, and like, was it ever kind of simplified? Like, we're really good at this. Let's just go back to doing this.
It was, yeah. There was some times, especially if we were struggling to, produce on the amount of plays that we're trying to be put in, that he would simplify, and that we would kind of pull back on the reins of trying to have this elaborate scheme. But I mean, that's kind of what that offense is made for, that kind of offense, though, where you can pull different things out and catch teams by surprise by having, guys who can know such an in-depth playbook, because it makes it hard to scheme against, which is very fair. I mean, it's hard as a defensive coordinator to scheme against a team that runs 150 different plays. I mean, you don't know what they're going to run in every situation.
Do you think it's fair, though, in today's college football, because of the transfer portal and guys maybe, like, I can just leave. Like, this is too hard. Like, does it, that kind of, like, people don't have the same kind of patience that they had before.
They don't. I mean, I've seen it firsthand with some guys who coming into the program, and it's a wake-up call to sometimes come from high school ball being the best guy and being someone who gets immediate respect, to then having to turn it around and be like, all right, I'm at the bottom of the barrel, and now this offense I'm having to learn is insane to me, and I can't keep up. And, I mean, guys don't have the patience, or don't really have necessarily the drive sometimes to stick around, because they don't have to. Like, if they can go to a program where they know they're only going to run 20, 30 plays, like, okay, yeah, it's easy. I can go there, start, kill it. And I mean, the transfer portal changes everything. It makes it, you got to scheme things up as a recruiter and also as a coach, and how you go about coaching your guys and how you go about respect-wise treating people. It makes it different.
Is it shocking after 2020 that this is where we are? That, like, that team should have been in the playoffs. Even 2021, if Haynes doesn't go down, and I think Zach did a really nice job, but if Haynes doesn't go down, how different things could have played out. But 12 wins the last 2 years, just after all that talent, after all the dudes you had in that locker room.
It's a wake-up call, I think, to people who watch college football and people who are around college football, to know that talent doesn't win you everything. I think that's the thing that you have to take away from this. Like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if guys aren't driven to be in that locker room for each other and play together, you're not going to win games. That's just how it is. Yeah. I mean, even as far back as whenever I played in high school, we would play teams that were way more talented than us, but we beat them by 3 scores because we played together and we had coaches who could get the best out of us. I think I don't know. Yeah, we went out and got some amazing talent and some guys who, you know, I have respect for, and I'll always love them to be my teammates. But there were some people who were possibly brought into that locker room who weren't good for the locker room and for the, you know, the cohesiveness of the team, and for guys, you know, being the best versions of themselves and trying to be, you know, that time from 18 to 21. I mean, you're still growing up. You're trying to figure out who you are, and you need every single positive influence around you that you can have to become the best version of yourself. And the whole the cliche thing where what you do off the field is how you are on the field, it's so true. And that's needs to be hammered into every single player. If you don't have discipline in other aspects of your life, what makes you think that you're going to have discipline in the hardest one, which is trying to be a professional athlete? I mean, I'm kind of really hoping that the past few years are something that we learn from and realize it's not all about the 5 stars. It's not all about the big time guys. You need some guys who are going to come into this program. I mean, look at Torin York.
Yep.
3-star. The guy came here. He's killed it in the SEC All-American. I mean, you think that guy, everyone was super excited whenever we got him?
Anais,
another guy. Those guys did amazing and did really well because they're guys of character and because they bust their tails. That's what you need. You can pull a lot out of a guy who's a 3-star from a small town. I feel very passionately about it.
Yep.
And this is one of the things that Elko has been talking about, and this is why I respect him so heavily. He said, I'm going to pick character and the team over talent every time. He's like, culture. That's what he said. He said, I'm going to pick culture over talent every time. If someone's coming in and killing the culture, he's not going to have it, which I think is what you need. You need that. So
let's hit a break. Can you stay for one more segment?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do that. It's a short one coming back. Max Wright in the studio. More of that next on TexAgs. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio. Max Wright is in studio. So we spent so much time kind of looking back. I want to look ahead real quick, and we can take our time. NFL, that's your passion, that's your journey. How's training going, and what does your schedule look like?
So it's the hardest training I've ever done, to be honest. My schedule goes Monday, I have treadmill speed work with a combination kind of like leg stuff. I have a laid out diet where I'm eating like very, very specific regimen from, all right, 6 to 7 this window, you have to eat this. And then after your workout, you eat this. From 12 to 1, it's like every 3 hours I'm snacking on something or eating something, some sort of protein shake. I've been like shredding off some stuff. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life, and I've only been doing it for 3 weeks. So,
right.
Yeah, it's just crazy how, I don't know, when it becomes every part of what you do, how much harder you can devote yourself to it. It's been really exciting to just be able to do that. But my training kind of goes Monday, Tuesday, treadmill run with kind of some leg stuff, to Tuesday being more of an upper body focus, doing like the bench focus, trying to get my bench up, my bench test. Wednesday is kind of a rest day with doing some like smaller maintenance muscle type stuff,
right.
Injury prevention, loading up kind of like, legs in a way that's going to keep me safe whenever we go out there and do agility drills or position drills. Thursday, Friday, kind of back to that same with a treadmill, and then arms, and then Saturday is straight field work, where I'll go out there and do 5-10-5s and stuff like that, and then also do like the pro day, the tunnel drill where you're catching the ball, and then go back, and then Sunday's a rest day, and then right back into it on Monday.
Is tight end, is that what you think you'll play in the NFL?
I'm open to play whatever. That's the thing that I've been trying to put out, and I've been working with my agent on trying to project myself as is somebody who's willing to do fullback, tight end, H-back, whatever you want me to, I can do it. And that's one of the things I'm thankful for here is I had some work at fullback,
right.
And then Ernest came in and Ernest killed it, so they didn't need me, which was great. Because I love having my hand in the dirt and going toe to toe with guys at the tight end spot. But I know I can get back there and get ahead of steam and come downhill and be a great lead blocker if I need to too. So.
Well, I said this to you, and I'm going to say it to the audience. One day I think you're hosting the show, so you're welcome to any time you want. Thank you so much for coming by, and I don't think 30 minutes was enough, so we'll have to do another one, all right?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Max Wright here in studio. Appreciate his time. All right, when we come back, Tom Schuberth, break down a little basketball for you. Aggie basketball does get the victory yesterday. We'll get into that. Your text messages at 979-693-1150. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're back, TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. How about that interview with Max Wright? That was phenomenal stuff. I really liked talking to him, getting to know him a little bit, and he already told me he's coming back soon. So hopefully we'll be able to watch his journey of the NFL and hopefully a long, long career. Tom Schuberth is in studio with us right now to talk a little Aggie basketball. Tom, I'm going to let people know something you just said to me because I feel like I say it all the time. Okay? Little broken record when we talk about this team, right? Because Olin said you don't know what you're going to get from night to night, which I think is true. But I think you do know oftentimes the shooting percentage is going to be low.
Correct. And I think it's going to continue that way until we emphasize maybe our shot selection more. But again, every team has an identity and everybody's different. And I don't think Buzz puts a high emphasis on shot selection. And there's two good reasons for that. One, it gives your players a lot of confidence, and then it's difficult as a defensive team to try to figure out, where their shots are going to come from. And then that's why we're so dynamic on the offensive boards. I mean, when that ball goes up, I was listening to the announcers last night, and they were saying that they kind of anticipate the shot going up before the defense, and there's probably some truth to that. So we're so good on the offensive boards. Their philosophy is just keep shooting it till you make it.
The thing about yesterday was, even though they were really good rebounding, so was Missouri. Like, Missouri got to a lot of those balls, and I do believe shot selection has got to be a premium when you aren't a good shooting team regardless.
I think so. A couple times in that game, we had some rhythm jump shots, and ironically, they go in. One in transition. If you remember, Henry pitched the ball back to Wade, got a rhythm jump shot. Another time in the second half, right in front of our bench in a transition, we pitched ahead. Wade got a transition J. And then I remember Jace Carter missed one from the corner. I would say it was a good look. It wasn't a great look. We got the offensive rebound, kicked it right back out to him, and he had his feet set, rhythm jump shot, and it went in, and the announcers were like, man, that took a lot of confidence. To me, those are the shots you never even hesitate in taking. When you have a wide open, stationary rhythm jump shot, it's a no-brainer. You take it, especially guys that can shoot. And you look at Jace Carter's form and his technique, he's a good shooter, and he's proven that at other places as well.
Well, here's the thing. We're acting like they lost the game. They won the game. And I think that is a testament to this team because when you shoot as poorly as they did, you typically lose those games. And they won the game. And it's not like Missouri shot great either, but they shot better.
Correct. I could never predict whether A&M's going to win or not. It's very difficult. I know one thing, they're always going to be in a ball game because how hard they play, and their defense always gives them a chance. So it's almost a crapshoot when you go out there and play A&M because you don't know if they're going to make shots. And if they do, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to win because maybe the other team's playing better. So what I do like about this team, they play hard. They always give themselves a chance, and they're a tough matchup. How do you stop A&M from getting offensive boards? There's not a formula that you go work on in practice other than, blocking out. But be honest, David, the game has evolved so much with the shot clock and the three-point line going farther back. There's so many more missed shots. A lot of teams don't even block out anymore. They just say, go get the ball, and I think that's what our mentality is.
How much of a difference does Henry make in the lineup? Because even though he struggled shooting as 1 of 5, he hit his free throws. I just feel like the way he plays the lanes, the way he runs, his speed, his intensity, it makes a difference for all of the rest of the floor.
Totally agree. I thought a couple of his huge steals and pitched ahead. He did it several times, and he's a good defender. I don't think he gets enough credit because he's so physical. He doesn't foul, and he's just a solid player, and he's not selfish. A guy that has that ability, started out the season averaging a double-double and never complains, runs the floor. He's a guy that is kind of the unsung hero, and that's what you need to have a good ball club to compete for championships.
From a coaching perspective, what do you think is the reason for the slow starts? Does it come back they're just not a great shooting team? Is that why, or is there more to it?
I think, number one, I don't think we're as dynamic a team as we were last year. I don't think we've won some of the close games that we won, but we're finding ways to win, which is encouraging, and I think we're improving. But, yes, I think you have to shoot the ball better than we are to be a great, great team and advance. You know, what's scary, if we have one of those nights when the ball's not going in, which it seems like it's every night, looking at our 39% field goal percentage and 26 from the three, and you don't get offensive rebounds, you're probably going to get beat. But then we have a guy named Wade Taylor who comes in and rescues us and gives us a chance down the stretch. So it's a tough team to predict. I know this. I don't think we'll get swept this year. I was looking at the schedule. I know we have Tennessee twice still in Ole Miss.
Split that, baby. Let's go.
I know. If you can split both of those games, even Ole Miss, I mean, they're not playing as great as they have been, but they're still. It's when a team's decent, it's hard to beat them twice in a season.
So after the Kentucky game, I looked at the stretch. I was like, this is a very crucial stretch of the season where you can get hot and really get back into it. They lost the Arkansas game, and I still have my issues with the way that one ended. But you win LSU, and you played pretty good there. You play not as great against Missouri and come away with a victory. You can beat Ole Miss. You better do it. And you got Florida. These games are all winnable games.
I looked at the schedule before I came on, and I thought February 17th might be our next possible loss. You know, we can win any game, but I
can lose any game too.
Yes, correct. And the interesting thing about yesterday, you know, we play Missouri in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today. Yeah. And so I know in their mind, Missouri, they could have won that game last night with a break down the stretch. You know, I thought their game plan was excellent in the beginning. They zoned, which I think more people will zone us just because when we do get to the basket, we're tough to deal with because we get to the foul line. But you can't let Wade Taylor, get rhythm shots. So I think people will zone and kind of try to shade him a little bit.
Which is what we saw yesterday.
Correct. And right. I thought it gave him a chance. And then I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out in my mind anyway, whether our defense adjusts and we take teams out of what they're doing to us when they're effective, or teams go away from it. And you see that sometimes. Sure. You know, they distribute the ball, they get ball reversals, they're killing us in the inside. Next thing you know, in a 5-minute stretch, they're just jacking it up. I don't know if we're speeding them up or the team's just thinking, hey, this is easy. Let's try to do it a little quicker. So Missouri had a good game plan. I'm sure they're going to be a little better at home. And, they're going to beat somebody this year. I think they've got good enough players and a good enough tradition where they're going to beat someone. I just hope it's not A&M when we go in there in 2 weeks.
Tom, I want to get inside of a coach's mind. There's certain players, like I would assume Wade, he's got the green light, right? Even if he's having an off night, you want him shooting because you know he's going to find his stroke at some point. But what if you're not a consistent shooter? At times, Boots is not a consistent shooter. Does he get a green light if it's a good look? How about players that aren't your traditional shooter? Maybe Solo. Like, I know Solo can hit a three every now and then, but, does he get a green light? What does a coach want? Even if it is a good-looking shot, if you've been off, do you encourage that shot still?
Well, I think Buzz does. I think he does. I don't see him react very negatively when, in my mind, and again, I'm not the coach, but they're not good shots. I don't feel like they are. But so you get better confidence by not restricting guys, but at the same time, when your percentage isn't good. But the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When we're still scoring and the efficiency, when we mentioned they were like fifth in efficiency because we're scoring because we're getting offensive rebounds, I don't think he's going to tweak it until we struggle. I know this, when you take good shots and you're a good shooter, you're going to make them, and then you might rate the shots. I'm sure that they do an extensive amount of film work and they look at every shot taken and they say, good shot, bad shot, 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10. There were a couple shots yesterday that I would have said were 10 out of 10. So 2 we talked about with Wade Taylor. Those are going in. I mean, when he misses those, you're shocked. And then there were a few that were twos or threes where they were off balance, struggled to get it up out of the corner, and those are not high percentage shots. So you're going to be surprised when those go in.
If you look at Wade's numbers the last few games, he's been a lot more efficient, and I think it's because he's getting more help from somewhere. If it's Boots having nice games, if it's Henry having a nice game, if it's Anderson Garcia, when he gets help, it allows just a little bit, an inch more.
It sure does. And that's, again, why we're a difficult team to beat. I think we're kind of a complete team. Not that we have great scorers, but we distribute a lot. And so it seems like someone steps up. But again, talking about our personnel, Boots, for example, can make threes. But if I'm an opposition, I'm trying to make Boots take threes, because when he gets to that lane, not only is he tough and stopping them from scoring and getting fouled, but he makes other people more effective, just like you said. When they converge, now he can kick it out to Hefner or Wade or Carter, whoever it may be, and it makes people better. So we're not a team where you could just say, stop Wade Taylor, you're going to win, because guys have stepped up, and we're winning in different ways other than scoring. I think we average 74 points a game, which is a good total. I mean, that's more than we have in past years, but I think we're winning because of the blue-collar mentality and just the no quit in us. And that's why no one really wants to play A&M, because you're not sure if you can beat them, you know.
Follow me here. Is it hard to recruit a good shooter at this level? Because sometimes a specialty shooter, right, that's what they do, can't run the floor, can't play the defense that is required to, and then they become more of a liability. Because to me, it's like, well, just get a shooter out there, right? But there is the yin to the yang.
Absolutely. I think you would rather have a guy that's talented and you teach him how to be tough and play hard and be a good defensive player. You have to have the ability to move your feet and be tough, but defense is more of mentality, which obviously Coach Williams stresses. I'm like you. I don't think you can ever have enough shooters. I like to listen to coaches after they have a good game or even a bad game. In Connecticut last year, that came on and won the national championship, they had a 6-game losing streak. And the year before, Connecticut got knocked out in a tournament early by New Mexico State. And one of the things their coach said, Hurley said, I'm tired of not having guys that can put the ball in the basket. And shooters do take a lot of pressure off your offense. You know, it's like you could be struggling and a guy get on a roll like Wade does, and all of a sudden your offense looks great. So I would hope in the future we get more guys that can make baskets. And, you know, if I was a recruit looking at Texas A&M, a total package program, you know, elite school, a great conference, if I was a shooter, I'd want to come here, because I know Coach Williams will get you some shots if you can make them.
And when you're coaching, do you come up with a game plan of, all right, we need shooters, we need rebounders, and you go out and get them, or are you just getting best available, regardless of where they fit?
Well, I think in Buzz's system, he has a prototype that he looks for. So I know he's not going to go out and get like a frail guy that's, you know, not going to play hard, or even a temperamental guy, you know. And those guys are hard to coach. They're out there, and people can win with them, but that's where you make your money, is trying to motivate a guy that maybe doesn't bring it every night. And when we talked about teams, I always feel like we match up well when I say we A&M against teams that are up and down.
Sure.
The teams that scare me that come in a Reed Arena or when we go on the road are those consistent teams. An example, and it'll be prevalent this Saturday, is when Ole Miss comes in. They're not a great team, but they have an identity. I'm anxious to see this game because I think it's going to be very hard fought. And then again, we play them at their place in you know, a month from now. But it's going to be a good ball game because both teams have an identity. They're going to play hard, and we'll see how we do. I hope we shoot the ball well. I know that because one of the things that Ole Miss hangs their hat on is their defense and taking away strengths of other teams.
What'd you think of the lineup, the rotations, the substitutions?
I love it. I mean, I've never been a coach, and I don't think there's many nowadays where you worry who starts. You know, you can put any 5 guys out there, and you can sub in 5 seconds. So sometimes guys have a personality where they feel better about themselves when they start. I like how Buzz does that. He puts them in and out, and they're win by committee, you know, and you can see that in their attitude. Listen to Wade Taylor when you have him on and when he's interviewed, and he's a leader, but he's sincere. You know, this is a guy that could go out and probably get 30 points a game if he really wanted to, you know, but he distributes. He made an extra pass last night that I thought was incredible. He had the same rhythm jump shot, but he's the one that skipped it to the Carter, and he got the open shot. So that says a lot about where their mindset is. I mean, winning's fun. You know, I've never known a player that gets an MVP award or he's a scoring leader and enjoys his season if you're not competing for a championship. And that's what the elite coaches do. They get their teams to believe they can win. And I think we're there, you know, but we need some breaks. I don't think we're going to win the SEC, but, there's stranger things have happened. If you'd asked me last year, I didn't think we were going to finish second, but to only lose 3 games. Looking at the schedule, we would need some help from some other teams to beat the teams above us, but there's no reason why we can't win any game we play this season on the road or at home.
Coaching philosophy-wise, for my kids, if they show me that they're being anxious about something, I always tell them, go get a foul early. And in basketball, fouls are a premium. Or go make contact early. Set a nice screen. Do you agree with that kind of philosophy?
Totally, David. The simple things get you back in the rhythm. Like if you're not shooting the ball well, maybe settle or wait till you get a good look, either a layup or a shot that you're going to make eventually because you've done it enough times. Confidence comes from doing it over and over, and you develop that habit, and you just know when you get that shot, you don't even think about it. That's why the ones late in the game, it's always ironic how they go in, when your team's leading and the next thing you know, the other team needs a 3, and it seems like it always goes in, and I think part of that is that memory muscle kicks in, and that opponent's not even thinking about it. They're just shooting it, and that talent takes over, and the ball goes in. So I'm a big believer in habits, and then you've got to put in the time and work. But even with that, sometimes the thing doesn't go right, so you go back to, like you said, the bread and butter and get the simple things. Free throws are great, and I think last year's team, that's what we did a wonderful job of. When we struggled to score, we got to the free throw line and we made them. This year we're not making quite as
no, we're not. Yeah.
No, but we're making the ones where it seems like we need to keep us in the game or to at least keep a lead.
So I kind of misspoke Monday-ish where I said to the effect of I think we're on the same path as A&M was last year. And what I meant by that was even though the record and the team is not as good, frankly, they're not as good.
No.
But I think if they continue at this pace, they're an 8 or 9 seed. Last year's team was better. They got an 8 or 9 seed because of the Wofford game and the strength of schedule. This year's strength of schedule is so much higher. So I guess my question to you is, do you see that, and how much room does this particular group have to grow still in this year?
I think you're right on in a seed. I see us at 8 or 9, maybe even a 10, depending on how we finish the year out. But if we could ever figure out how to increase our field goal percentage or at least get some better looks, because I'm still a believer in our shooters. I mean, I watch them in warm-ups. I watch them when I go to practice. You can just see they can shoot the ball, but you got to get good looks. But again, if that's what's emphasized, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing that they're not, because they're obviously emphasizing something because they're scoring baskets, and they're maybe not on the first attempt or second. But I don't see this team being a better seed than we were last year. Absolutely not. Part of the reason I think too we have other teams like us in the NCAA that are going to be a little bit better rewarded because of that, and we're not probably going to finish second in the SEC. We may, but I just don't see it at this point.
Somebody on our chat just asked me to remind the audience your background: UTRGV, Ranger College, the Generals.
Yeah.
Where else am
I was at 9 different Division I schools. Some of my best schools were Memphis. I was at UAB, UCF. I was the head coach at Rio Grande Valley. At that time was Texas Pan American. So I did 34 years of Division I, and I actually did 1 year of junior college. Coaches do get fired, so I got fired at Texas Rio Grande Valley, and I spent a year at Paris Junior College
that's right, yes.
with Logan Lee.
With Logan, that's
Logan.
right.
Yeah, Logan really coached the team. He had it when we had all the losses. I had it when we had the wins. Not really. No, Logan did a great job, and we had a good combination. We were fortunate we actually won the conference championship and lost in the regional finals to what is the NCAA tournament is called Hutch. It's the National Junior College Tournament where they take 32 teams and they go in there, and it's a great experience. And we got beat by Navarro, who had a very good team. So, yes, I loved coaching. It was fun. I had a lot of good mentors, and I had a lot of success. And that's what I hang my hat on. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I respect coaches that win. And when you come from winning programs, you're doing something right, and you're figuring it out. And I was very fortunate. I was in 11 NCAA tournaments as a coach and went to the Elite 8, Sweet 16 with a couple teams, and it was a great experience.
Tom, I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Right now, Milliken Reserve Time, farm to table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got a wide open space for you to go enjoy nature. Go out there, climb the trees, jump rope, go hiking, go biking, do whatever you like to do outdoors. Do it with your family because that's what Milliken Reserve wants you to do. They want to create a healthy community around nature and create a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. 2,600 acres of open space, 30 miles of trails, and they got beautiful homes out there. An extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape. You got the walking paths, you got equestrian paths, you got creeks, you got ponds, you got gathering areas. You've got it all, and you've got all the animals you can imagine. White-tailed deer, songbirds, rabbits, turtles, you name it. And homeowners of Milliken Reserve share in a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you're coming back to that pristine countryside place. Check out the website to learn more. It is millikenreserve.com. Again, that website, millikenreserve.com. Welcome back in, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I do, before we get into Around the SEC, I just want to tell you how much I enjoyed talking to Max Wright. He was awesome, and he is always awesome every time we've had a chance to talk to him. But it was one of those interviews. There's interviews where you're like, all right, we've hit our time. I could have kept on going with Max. He was awesome. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Matthew Dawson is gathering there at the Social Center. What do you got for us on Around the SEC?
Well, quite a bit, and it's only Wednesday, right? Well, we just had 2024 MLB Hall of Fame class just came out. If you didn't know, Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, and the SEC's very own Todd Helton, Tennessee. Here's a fun fact, and David, I'll let you answer this question. Todd Helton started at quarterback the first game of the season, the 94 season. What quarterback came in to replace him in that 94 season?
Peyton Manning.
That would be Peyton Manning. And then Todd Helton was like, well, maybe.
All right, here's a question for you. Who came after Peyton Manning?
Oh, you stumped me. Don't know.
I believe it was T. Martin.
That sounds right.
Double check. Somebody will text me how stupid I am. That was wrong. But I think it was T. Martin right after National Championship.
But that's what basically urged Todd Helton to go play baseball and take it more seriously.
This is when he's like, oh, this dude's here.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this dude's here, Peyton Manning. Guess we both have to be Hall of Famers. You know,
both are Hall of Famers. How about that?
Yeah, that's crazy. Can you believe that? That's crazy. And then also, Darian Jeremiah came out with a mock draft. That was this past weekend. But if you didn't know, there are 10, count them, SEC players. If you're counting next year's SEC teams, there'd be 12 with Texas and Oklahoma. He also hinted on Twitter that Edge Cooper would be making his next mock draft. So that would be 11 players, 13 if you're including Texas and Oklahoma. That is absolutely
in
absurd.
The first round?
In the first round.
So he's saying Edge Cooper is moving into the first round?
Possibly.
Really?
So that, I think he was hinting at it. He said, it's going to be my next mock draft. Sometimes he does first
but
and
he said
second
the name
round.
Edge Cooper with
He
that.
said Edge Cooper.
All right.
He posted a little Twitter clip with like him making that, you know that one play where like he sheds like 4 guys in that screenplay and then just makes an unbelievable tackle? Of course, because that's like his popular clip. I think he's really starting to like him. So I think his stock might start to rise a little bit.
All right, Edge. Let's go, buddy.
All right, Edge.
It was T. Martin, by the way. He was the
yeah.
quarterback after Manning.
Yeah, it's weird. I can remember things from the 90s. I don't remember who A&M played last year. That's the problem for this job. Continue on, Matthew.
Well, if you're looking at men's basketball, last night, South Carolina pulled off a stunner. Now, I know the line was only -5.5, so, you know, it was a close game, but South Carolina just goes in there and whoops Kentucky 79-62. 79-62. A Kentucky team that was, you know, they had that blip against A&M, but other than that, they were
I wouldn't call it a blip. I think A&M took it to them. The blip happened last night.
You're right. The blip happened last night. They took it to them, so that was pretty unbelievable, if you ask me.
The blip, a big thing in the Marvel community.
Yeah, and then in other news and track and field.
You don't know what I mean by that, do you?
I don't know.
I can tell. You just went right through
it.
You just went right through it.
I'm just going to power through it and pretend like I know what I'm talking about.
The real ones know what I'm talking about. Thanos, the blip. Never mind. Go ahead.
Awesome. And then SEC track and field, they came out with their athletes. We talked about Lamar Diston being recognized. There are 5 SEC teams ranked in the top 25 in men's. There are 9 ranked top 25 teams for women's. SEC kind of dominating track and field right now, so we really like to see that. That's all I got for Around the SEC.
Mr. Dasson, thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right, here's the deal. When we come back, we will do more basketball. It is basketball season. We're going to get into it. We've got Tap and we've got Hop, and they both spell their name with a P in it. So believe it or not, both are going to be in, I don't know. I had nothing witty to say after that, so I apologize for ruining the radio segment. Right now, time to not replace it, to lift it with our friends at Ascent Concrete Lifting and Support. You can call them up at 979-933-8527. They are locally owned, they're Aggie owned, and they are operated. And basically, they provide a clean service at half the price of replacement. They're problem solvers when it comes to most concrete issues. So, got a bad driveway situation, sidewalk, patio, business. The concrete is jacked. You know what I'm talking about, like where people trip. You can't play basketball in your driveway anymore, or someone's going to get a concussion. You've got whatever issue you have. You don't have to replace it. That's going to cost $10,000, $15,000. You can do it for a fraction of the cost by just lifting it. And they're going to educate you on the entire process because that's what they do there at Ascend Concrete Lifting and Support. You can call them up, 979-933-8527. They'll take care of you here locally in the Brazos Valley, Bryan College Station. They'll take care of you anywhere in Texas. And oh, by the way, they'll travel. They'll go anywhere nationwide. They can stabilize any form of concrete or slab out there. They can take care of residential issues. They can take care of commercial issues like factory floors, apartment complexes, industrial issues as well, roads, streets, highways, bridge, curbs, and gutters. It is Ascend. You got to call them up to get an appointment. 979-933-8527. Again, 979-933-8527. Don't replace it. Just lift it. Time to pound the rock. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We're talking a little basketball. Tap Bentz in the house. Hello, sir.
How are you, sir? It seems like it's been about forever.
I think it's been at least 3 weeks, right?
I was going to say a month, but
maybe
yeah,
a month,
I'm sure
yeah.
about that. Yeah, for Christmas, I know that.
David Sandhop in the house. Hello, Hop.
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Nick was saying you were all over the TV again yesterday and on your best behavior.
I'm always on my best behavior.
There we go.
You know that.
Let's go. Hey, so I don't know how I feel about yesterday's game because they won a game where I could easily see them losing because of how bad their shooting went, how bad certain things went. So I should be excited about it, but yet nothing from that game excites me. So, Hop, you start us off there. Just kind of where are you after that performance?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the mode now. We're deep into SEC play, and it's, hey, even if it's ugly, just get the W.
Yeah.
And so you got the W. To me, the formula is so fragile. A&M was up 27-15 with 3+ minutes in the first half, and then there was a series of one. They gave up an offensive rebound on the missed free throw, which wasn't contested, and I think they had 2 other offensive rebounds in that sequence. And next thing you know,
it's 5.
It's 5, and it's a game the rest of the way. A&M had a chance to really kind of get some separation there, but it's so fragile. A couple offensive rebounds going the other way, and you're back in it grinding.
And I remember because I'm watching it and I go, and it was about 2 minutes left when that sequence happened. And you're right, you felt like A&M was finally got in control and they were getting ready to pull away and just do it. And the thing that got them was what they always do. They allowed somebody to get the offensive rebound off of a missed free throw, and they're usually so good. I mean, and that's Coach Rock's job. I call him the special teams coach because he's always making the call, and they usually have 2 guys always boxing out one player, and he just got by. And there was, to me, and I know Missouri kind of sat in that zone, but I just didn't feel like there was any sense of urgency from A&M last night. And I know the tempo is what Missouri wanted, but I remember Buzz answered a question maybe a week ago. I heard one of the first questions, or I heard it on one of the press conferences, and they said, is this a game? Do you feel like this talked about sense of urgency going into the LSU game or something? And he goes, well, I guess in January you need to have a kind of has to be. And in my mind, I'm going, every game needs to have that sense of urgency, and I just really haven't seen that every game like they showed us last year when they got into conference and had to win every game.
Yeah. Why do you think?
Well, I thought, to me, that they were really frustrated by that 1-3-1 zone, and it looked like that early on they would hit the high post man, and he would have a lane, but then you don't realize Missouri has that 7'5" guy and that other 7-footer, and they were just they just were gun shy. I think Henry went a few times, got fouled, but got it rejected some. I just think that they got tentative, and when you do that, you kind of feel complacent. And then you go back to, there's no energy, and you're searching for a contested 3-point shot.
I would like, and they always say it, the little mid-range jumpers just disappeared. But, I mean, Anderson late in the game, or, he would flash right to that little high post right there in the middle, and he kept his back to the basket. He wouldn't even look. And why, to me, maybe you go, okay, and I think you hit it with Coach last segment when he says, do you just put shooters in? Get somebody there that's just a threat to take that little 10-foot jump shot, just turn around and hit it all day, and then crash the boards like we always do. But to me, a lot of our zone offense, we move the ball, and I know that's what we want to do, is get the defense rotate. But we seem to always just rotate it around the perimeter. I'd like to see, again, when I used to coach, and I know this was at this level, take it at a spot where you have 2 defenders and make them both have to come to you, and then you kick it out to one of your players. But because when you just rotate it around the perimeter, the defense just keeps rotating itself, and there's no penetration. But when you penetrate against the zone, that's when you defeat the zone.
And that's a great point you made, because we all sit here and wring our hands about, man, we're just bad shooters. I'm not saying we're great shooters, but when you don't have that inside-out game and you can't force a defense into rotation, it leaves you shooting a long contested 3, and you're going to shoot 25% when that happens.
Well, and guys, they have dudes that can go to the rim.
Yeah.
Wade can attack. Boots can attack. Henry can attack. Solo can attack. You've got guys that can attack the rim.
I mean, Hayden Hefner, I think, does a pretty good job when he makes his mind up to attack. Jace, I haven't really seen a lot, but I see a lot also when we're just rotating it around. We catch the ball flat-footed a lot of times, and also, wait, I'm open, and let me go up for the shot. But again, you talk about the inside out, or you kick it out. What do? You step into the pass and you just get right into your nice rhythm. I mean, it's just like on that break opportunity when Henry led the break, he turned around and found Wade. Wade was stepping into his shot, hit nothing but net. Exactly. It just gets you into the rhythm of your shot when you're able to step into a pass. But if you're catching the ball from the side, unless your whole body's turned, it's very difficult to step into that shot.
And did you think Henry made a big difference yesterday just with the way I thought his defense was spectacular, especially during that 11-minute stretch?
Yeah, I mean, you think about that first half when we were struggling so much, we were, he got to the line, 11 times? and most of that was in the first half. So you can tell the injury still bothering him a little bit. He still has some rust to knock off, but that to me that's encouraging when he gets 100%, because he was doing some of that before the injury, and that can open up some things.
You go back and really we're this and that. When's the last time this team, and I know it's this time of year, has truly been 100%? We were either without Boots, and then we had to work Boots in. Then then Solo misses the. How good would it have been those first 2 SEC games if Solo's playing as opposed to sitting out? So we really haven't been 100% since before Christmas, or even like since the first week of the season.
And I'd follow that up with, even though I'm not loving the shooting percentage, but they are playing better brand of basketball, a little bit more A&M style of basketball since that first LSU game, regardless of where they're shooting. And yes, they lost the Arkansas game, but I still think the brand of basketball they're playing is more to their true identity, Hop.
Yeah, well, obviously we've talked about for the equation right now is win the offensive rebound margin and win the turnover margin. And turnover margin really benefited them last night, like 15 to 8 or 9. And a lot of those Missouri turnovers were live ball turnovers. And I think A&M had like 15 fast break points, which for them is a lot, and that really helped. And there's an equation there. It's a tight equation, and if they get off track, you can get LSU game, first game of the year. If it's on track, then you're going to win by 5 or 6 points.
I mean, they won. They had 21 points off of turnovers. I think I saw when y'all put that up in one of the earlier with Olin and stuff. But, you're going to get 21 points off of turnovers. You're going to put the other team. You can get away with shooting 29% for the game, but something's got to do it. And again, it wasn't their best game, but ultimately, I'm glad we're still talking about, because 2 weeks ago or 2 games ago, 3 games ago, I was like going, okay, what's next for this team?
Yep.
But now you win at LSU, and then and so it's a
should have
different
won
team.
at Arkansas.
Yeah, you feel better about this team than you did probably a week and a half ago.
Well, the thing that you guys brought up, the fast break points, that's something that this team has struggled with this year, the easy buckets. And if a team's got to struggle shooting the ball, you got to find ways to get those easy buckets, and we saw a lot of it last night.
Yeah, but you bring up a great point. I think that's, when you look at the ledger, that's certainly shooting and the inability to finish fast breaks. Now, luckily last night, a lot of those were really bad live ball turnovers. They were easier opportunities in the fast break, but that's definitely something that you need to look for. That's certainly on the negative ledger right now.
And I've felt like that most of the season is we've struggled. I mean, if we looked at the shooting chart, probably within 3-4 feet, there'd be a lot more ones that weren't circled, X's, than that have been circled. We just seem to struggle finishing around the basket at times.
Yeah. There was a stretch of plays where we saw Solo at his highest and Solo at his making a bit of a mistake, and it all happened within a few minutes. The alley-oop, which to me is like, all right, this is it. This is game time. And then the foul on the three-point shot. Overall, though, that dude is a plus player on the floor.
Well, he definitely has the energy, and he has the he's as athletic as anybody you'll see out there. But like I said, I mean, to me, you want that energy and excitement, but how do you dial it back when you don't create silly fouls? Because a lot of his fouls are away from the basket, and you're like going,
why?
Like on that closeout, how you just can't in that situation.
Jimmy Dykes made a good point. Is he has a lot of those fouls after good plays because he gets so excited. Where usually a lot of guys are trying to make up and do something, but his are usually coming after positive plays, and he's just so amped up that he just then it's like, okay, let me go do something else. And again, that's the part that how do you take away his enthusiasm? And I think Buzz does a great job of allowing him to be solo and keeping him somewhat in control.
Maybe I'm phrasing it incorrectly, but Tap, you start us off here. Who's the second best player on this team? Because coming into the season, I would have told you Boots. And Boots might be on a certain night, but I think Henry on certain nights is your second best player. Just take it from
I'm going to tell you, I don't think there's a true second best player. You got Wade, and then it's night to night.
Yeah.
There's no way you say it, but we saw the difference. And, you take one of them out. I mean, Boots was gone. We weren't the same team. Henry was gone. We weren't the same team. Solo was gone. We weren't the same team.
You take Anderson out, you're not going to be the same team.
So it's that collection. I just don't think we have a true. It's night to night who's going to step up. And thankfully, most of the time, one of them has stepped up.
Yeah. Well, for me, being an old school defensive, when you're 5'8", in short and stumpy playing basketball, you've got to focus on defense.
We did that too. Must have played the same game.
Exactly.
Hey, guilty.
Exactly. So I really love Solo because he is so valuable in defense. He could guard any spot on the court, and I love that. With that being said, you got Anderson Garcia, we've known he's going to get you 9-10 rebounds a game. He's now starting to get in the flow.
Yes, he is.
And he made like 7 of 8 free throws last night and he's scored double digits the last 2 or 3 games. So it's hard not to argue against Anderson Garcia as much as he kind of stays in the background, but you need him every night.
Have you guys been surprised? Yesterday was a better day at the free throw line, but just this team, that's where they made their money last year, was hitting free throws. And this year they've had some struggles.
To me, they're very streaky. Boots missed 3 in a row, and we were down to about 55%. But then we hit. I mean, we know hitting 73%. So, I think Buzz said this in the presser. If he can get 73%, he's fine with it. But they're streaky, and Boots has missed more than normal, and Wade has missed more. Wade's still shooting 75, 80%, but Wade was almost 90%.
Yeah, I think it was like 86, 87% last year, right?
So the key is Boots and Wade need to make their free throws.
And let's knock on wood. Seems like they do pressure when there's the pressure or late in the game. Yeah. And again, I go back to maybe is that the lack of sense of urgency earlier in the game, and maybe the focus isn't quite there. And I don't know the answer. Is it an 8 o'clock game? Because I was watching the start of that game yesterday, and it looked like we slept walk, and just Missouri couldn't really pull away from us. But we certainly didn't play a good first 5-6 minutes of that ball game.
Let's talk about Ole Miss, because this stretch here we've talked about for a while. This is a very important stretch on how the season's going to play out. Ole Miss, not a must-win, but you got to win, guys. You got to win these games, right, leading up to Tennessee.
I personally think they need to win this entire homestand.
Yeah,
they really do, because with the way they're playing, I mean, yes, we know that they're gonna surprise us either at Tennessee or at Vanderbilt. They always do. They surprise us in a positive way, and they'll surprise us in a negative way. But the key is, though, you can't trip on these next 2, because really this next 3, because then you go back to Missouri. If you can win those next 3, all of a sudden you're sitting at 6-3, and all of a sudden game on.
Game on. You're right.
Game on.
Yeah, you're back in the midst, and I agree. These are not must wins, but they should. And at this level and the way the projection of this team coming in, those are games we should already have the W next to, and they need to show up and play. And the good teams in the country seem to do that, and that's where we want to get.
Where is Ole Miss vulnerable? Or is it really come down to A&M, really? Like, these games, it's about what
I think
A&M
it's about
does.
Texas A&M doing what they do. And hopefully their defense is going to show up every game, And they proved, and again, I'd love to say they proved against Kentucky they can score points. But again, I heard last night Kentucky's like 98th in the country in team defense, So maybe that's not always the best example. But they're going to win with their defense. But they just need to me, they should still be scoring 75 points a game at this point. And if they go out and do what they can do, they should win this homestand easily.
Yeah. The Ole Miss is that, they got off to such the hot start. Mm-hmm. And I think they were ranked a week or 2 ago. But they're, other than the Memphis game, they played nobody in non-conference. You're starting to see them come back down to earth. I think they're 2-3 now.
Yep.
So to me, A&M at home should win that game. It's under A&M's control to win it. I don't think Ole Miss is good enough to take away a great effort from A&M at home.
Tap, you mentioned the defense. They bring it, but it's still not what we're used to, right? Like, or are you happy with the defense?
Honestly, I'm happy because, except for Kentucky, they've done a good job. And Buzz's system is so it's different than most teams. I think, they force things to the corner. They if you're going to take a 3-pointer, that's the shot they want you to take, but the way they rotate, and you're starting to see more hands get on the ball and starting to get a little more aggressive in some traps in some places. And I think it's also the understanding. I heard you mention talking to Coach about the rotation. Guys are starting to understand because, he was having a rotation. And then I think that guys are understanding their roles. And I always talk about this. Chemistry, to me, when you have that kind of talent, is the most important thing. And Buzz always builds it, but it also takes a little bit longer for everybody to realize everybody else's strengths and weakness. You know, hey, I can't go throw the ball to Wildens Levesque running down the middle of the floor, and he's going to catch it. You know, but I can probably kick it out to the wing and give him a chance to get down and post up and get him the basketball. So you have to also learn your own team's weaknesses and strengths, and I think they've done that now.
Yeah, I think defensively, I agree with you. I think they've been a little more inconsistent than in previous years. They've given up a lot more inside drives to the lane than I remember in the last few years. They've let some guys get to, and last night there's a couple times in the half court. Yeah. If you give up a layup in the half court, you're not playing good defense.
Hey, at least we got a charge. Hayden Hefner did draw that charge, so we got to drop it there. Thank you both. Appreciate you. Tap and Hop here on Poundin' the Rock. We'll hit a break. We'll have a very short segment coming back real quick, though. We're talking about Heritage Films. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website. They make documentary films about families. They can do any kind of family story, family ranch, family business, or maybe just a good old time with your buddies, right? You guys play golf every weekend, and you want to have Chance and his crew there kind of document what it's like to be with the fellas, whatever you may do. Maybe it's something else. Your grandfather's got an amazing story of how he came to this country or whatever it may be. Chance can tell those stories, and it'll be a 2-hour documentary, Netflix style. You'll love it. We did it for my dad. It is phenomenal. So there's that. You can also do the Year Flicks, which are the shorter videos to about 20 minutes, and they're more of a benchmark video Q&A form for your 6th grade daughter who's, choosing to start playing volleyball. And then you got freshman year of high school coming up, and then freshman year of college. You can make them into a little 4-part series, 20 minutes. Chance puts them all together. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. feel so bad. We have a LSU fan on the chat, and for some reason his chat isn't popping up anymore. I mean, he mentions stuff about A&M, and I guess A&M's always on his mind that he has to be. But for some reason, it's not showing up. Nick, can you explain the phenomenon here? Like of all the chats, his is the only one that isn't showing up anymore. Huh?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's weird. God, I feel bad for him. I really wanted to see more of his trolling. I mean, I was looking forward to it. I mean, he's still allowed to watch the show. He's still on there, but he just every time he chats, it just doesn't show up. It's weird. What are we gonna do with our trolls? Gosh.
Blocked Central.
Bruh, I'll take the views. But if you're going to come here and just be a loser, a straight loser who listens to another show to say, then you know what? You're going to get the mute.
Perfect example. Look at our boy Sandman on the chat. He's a Longhorn. He's here.
Polite.
He's a loyal listener.
Polite.
He's here every day. He's chatting it up with everyone in the chat, and he's having good conversations. So
Randy, too.
we love it.
Look,
yeah.
I welcome a little back and forth. Chili, we go back and forth. There's certain people, I'm cool with that. But you just got to be a loser with a fake name and know that you would never, guarantee never say that to any of us. Facts. Those are facts. Was that intimidating, Matthew?
No cap.
You're very intimidating, David.
No, stop. Hey, we only got like 20 seconds. I love all my listeners, our listeners. We are TexAgs. We're a community. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow on the program, I believe we have Pat Bradley.
Oh, we sure do.
We got Jim
Hey, Bickham.
Schlossnagle.
Oh, wow.
Bruh. We booked guests on this show. We done did that. I don't even think that made sense, and I don't like the way I said it. All right, we'll see you mañana. Bye.